Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Aurora. This is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, Level 2, Lesson 13. And this is all about the traditional curriculum from 10 years ago is about the Christian religion. I'm going to talk a lot about ascended mastery and what it is to become an ascended master. And I'm going to make a big contrast between the way that things are supposed to be done and the way that things are being done by this esoteric society of how to hijack the space between lives is the best phraseology I can come up with about it for right now. And then I'll launch into a more refined overview of Christ consciousness in contrast with the Christian religion. Okay. What first? Upcoming Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance retreat in Sedona, September 2nd through September 5th. So inviting and encouraging you again to attend this amazing opportunity. And I think that what I needed to do is to be able to explain to people what is the purpose of it and why do we do it. And it is more than just something that, like, there are many spiritual retreats, there are many personal transformation retreats, there are many types of retreats that are just about people wanting to have vacation and be in a beautiful destination and eat luxurious or health conscious food. And all of those things are celebratory. I celebrate all of them. Those are all wonderful. But that event has something a little bit more beyond that as the intention and the motivation and the cohesion of why I am putting it together. And it really is about a transformation of the fabric of space-time. So although I am holding my event at a beautiful retreat center, the focus is not really on just like your sensory pleasures or your luxury, even though we have beautiful food, and I think that it's a very special place and that there's also a beautiful hot tub there. So I want people to have that elevated experience, and all of our food is the highest quality food. But I'm realizing I have to make a distinction. Like, how do I distinguish what I am offering from the many other opportunities out there, and also to give possible participants an accurate expectation of what the type of gathering is about. And the focus is really not only on, pleasure or, making a person feel fulfilled, like their own self-fulfillment. Although it is about that, it is really about service. It is really about what you can do in response to the dystopia, insanity, and disorganization of our world right now. And so everything that I teach about Flying Rainbow Lasagna has to do with self-empowerment, but this is not just, like I say, a reductionist school of manifestation. As you might be familiar with, there are many different schools of manifestation that have to do with, think everything from, I think this guy's name was Carnegie, think and you shall grow rich, to the Abraham Hicks vortex, and no judgment or side eye on anybody who's done any of these, because they're often steps on the journey towards a more larger scale level of self-empowerment that includes not only personal fulfillment, but generating events that are positive for the entirety. And that means the entire fabric of space-time. So when we do Flying Rainbow Lasagna, we are not merely dancing for things that are good for ourselves, although we want that. We want our bodies to be healthy. We want to dance for abundance and joyful, experiences in our lives and freedom. We also want to dance for the larger context that we live within, because I'm telling you, it means nothing in your world if you are personally happy, but your world is a garbage heap. It's nothing to have that. And people have asked me this sometimes throughout my life and throughout my experience here as being Aurora. They're like, like, why didn't you have a big giant house, and golden toilet seat, and all these different things? And I'm like, the truth is, I am dancing Flying Rainbow Lasagna for something that is more than just my personal comforts. So of course, I wish to sustain myself, and I wish to have my, painting studio and my music equipment and all the things that are important to me. I have a larger objective that is really to clean up the entire garbage heap of the world, because it's not very nice when you have to kind of like tiptoe around giant piles of doo-doo and things that are very unpleasant. And especially when the giant piles of doo-doo don't stay comfortably in their own yard, like in your neighbor's yard or whatever. Because once people started to get the subcutaneous pollutions and the 5G millimeter waves started to be deployed, then it started to become very apparent that doo-doo doesn't just stay in its own neighborhood. It proliferates all around. And then it's very, very difficult for you to have your own elevated divine connection and personal spiritual unfoldment amidst all of the frequency crap and bad stuff that has been pumped into the atmosphere. All right, you got it? So it can no longer be the sense of isolationism and like, I do me, you do you, and I'm just going to do my own thing over here and you swim around in your garbage. Unfortunately, that's not what's going on right now. So this also is a mandate to intervene. When you notice that other people's garbage is going into your zone, you're like, that's a mandate, not merely an opportunity, but a requirement for me to intervene. And flying rainbow lasagna is the way that you can intervene. It is a very intentional way of shaping reality and events by using your body as the instrument, your DNA, your posture, your movements of your mind and your emotional passions and energy. And yes, the way that you move your arms and legs in physical space, the dance, all of that contributes towards the interweaving of events. And the more that you do it, the more adept you become at it. So what I loved about the original event that I created back in May was the way that we amplified each other's signal. I'm used to dancing on my own, and then sometimes on my Tuesday morning dance groups, I'm connecting with people via the Zoom, but it's not the same as when you dance in each other's presence. Just like musicians, like you definitely create something that is greater than your own individual signal or your own individual emanation and experience. Created beautiful community as the participants there were really connecting with others. And sometimes they said, like, I never talk about this with people or friends or family, in my direct vicinity. But here at the retreat, I can talk about any of these things. And I'm like, oh, yes, this is all normative for what we are talking about. So we had very beautiful communal meals at the retreat, which often extended into after dinner discussions and storytelling, which was all intentional. That was a big part of how I scheduled everything in our daily agenda, because I wanted to make sure that we had time for that, because it's so powerful. Again, not just dancing in each other's presence, but the confirmation and validation that happened from different people talking about how they responded to the worldwide health crisis that began in 2020, how it affected their profession, how they responded to the various people in their lives that did or didn't get subcutaneous pollutions, their changes in mental clarity and psychic presence or connection in the world as a result of all of these things. All of this with many, many powerful discussions. And I do consider myself a freedom fighter, and I do consider everyone who is there to be a freedom fighter. So that is the type of person that I am interested in inviting, encouraging, and magnetizing to this event. And there are not prerequisites in terms of your bodily fitness or anything like that. And I want people to know I can modify any movements that I do with my body when I'm teaching and facilitating. So if you have a physical limitation, you can dance sitting in a chair, you can dance in a chaise lounge, you can dance as much as is comfortable for you to do floor work. I pretend these puffy mats on the floor. And I just want you to know that don't let your body ability be a limiting factor in participation, especially if your feelings and your intention and your willingness to participate is there. And then also, let's talk about pricing. It is a foundation price of $1,000 and $350 for meals. And that's for all of the 4 days and 3 nights of being there. And then accommodations are separate on top of that. And I do all of this on purpose. And I did a little bit of just kind of assessing and looking at things. And I actually like my pricing structure a lot. The very minimal pricing is camping out in glamorous camping. It's a tent, but that means that you can still be inside and use the bathrooms and everything inside, but just you'll sleep in your own tent outside, which is $200 for the experience. And then upwards from there, having like a bed in the shared rooms, upwards from there, having a queen bed in your own private room is upwards from there. And the most expensive or whatever luxurious experience that you can purchase is having your own king suite, a bed, a large bed, large enough for a couple, certainly, with your own private bathroom attached to it. And if none of those options serve you, you also do have the option of being able to find your own Airbnb or connect with a friend or find a hotel room or something like that. So I bring all this forward because it's really my intention to make certain that it is accessible to people, to not want to have be something that is, exorbitantly priced and not affordable to your earthly budget, right? So there's many different options. And I think that I was able to coordinate very well all the people who were there at the original event, the different options, making sure the campers were comfortable. The time of year that I will be having the second event, first week of September, it is a time in Sedona where there might be monsoon rains, really, really disruptive rains, or it could be 1,000 degrees. And so I want to make sure that the campers know if you choose to do that, you will not be forced to be outside if the weather is really bad. I will make sure that there's a space inside for you, make that commitment to you. So we'll make sure to take care of you no matter what. And also, I'm here to facilitate and help people, especially those who are flying internationally, to figure out their air, where they're flying into, getting a car or finding the shuttle from Phoenix Airport to Sedona, and then picking people up from their various drop-off points in Sedona to get to the retreat center. I want you to know you're not going to have to just swim on your own and figure all of this out and just arrive at the doorstep. So I am here to be able to help people with their travel plans in order, including to facilitate putting people together for car shares, putting people together for Airbnb or hotel shares or whatever they choose to do, and all other levels of picking people up and dropping people off, tent rental equipment and different things like that. I'm here to be able to help with that. And the other exciting thing that I'm doing that's new and expansive on this occasion is I rented a giant dance hall, which is part of a very large, beautiful park that overlooks Sedona. So it has a great view. And it's also kind of up and elevated a little bit away from the city vibe. And it's got a big giant wood floor and tall, expansive ceilings. And that's going to be the main event. Our whole day on Tuesday is using that space. I'm going to bring all of my musical equipment there, and I'm going to really play and sing, which is what I did not do at the original event, where I had mostly recorded music and I didn't really use my voice that much. And I used my voice for a lot of talking. So I said, on this event, what I have to do is sing first and then talk and lecture second. So that's what I'm going to do. The first full day of the retreat is going to be spent in music and in dancing, and I'm going to play and innovate music and use my voice and really uplift people with that type of being surrounded by beautiful music and beautiful sound and frequency. And then the next day will be teaching, walking, talking, formal lectures, Q&A, personal sessions, and other things like that. All right. And also I am doing personal sessions that I do with these types of crystals. And I'm going to try to schedule them before and after the retreat so that I really have enough time to focus and lavish my energy on people, and I won't feel too overscheduled during the retreat itself. So if you're going to travel, think about adding a little bit of a buffer zone, either the beginning or the end, so that we can schedule a personal time for a session, 2 hours or so, to be able to do that. Because I thought I could do them in half an hour, but I learned I never spend half an hour with a person. It always ends up being several hours. And I'm happy to be that attentive to people. And I get wonderful feedback on the impact that these sessions are having on people. And also, you don't have to be at the retreat if you're interested in scheduling a one-on-one session with me. What I focus on a lot in the work that I do is removing this stuff from people's bodies by doing my gift of non-locality and the anti-5G signal that comes out through here. So I mostly call them clearings and activations. I'm getting very positive feedback on that. And because it is distance work and because I have a gift of non-locality, I can do that really with anyone, anywhere. You don't have to be physically in my presence to do that. So you can contact me to schedule that at any time. So that's the major housekeeping that I needed to do to be able to say, invite and encourage. I'm very, very excited. And the reason why I'm excited, I didn't even finish my sentence. I'm so excited. I'm not finishing my sentence. I'm so excited because what we did was beyond materialism in the first gathering that I had. It was so successful on the level of changing and shaping the fabric of time-space. And I felt a palpable change coming back to California. It felt beforehand very psychically limited here. And afterwards, so much more expansive that it felt to me like it felt kind of in 2017 when I first moved here. because Ojai is a very magical place. And it has amazing energy. That's why I live here. I have lived in all of like the magical energy places. I lived in Woodstock, I lived in Humboldt County, and then now I live here in Ojai. But when the health crisis started, when the millimeter wave started, the magic really felt like it went away or was blocked, even to the point like they closed down the hot springs that are here, which is a beautiful magical place. And so much of the other, like the synchronicities and just the feeling. I think you know what I mean when I say magic, just like there's this feeling of expansiveness, anything can happen. And when I got back from Sedona in May, that feeling state was back. And that feeling, when I live in that energy field, it's like, oh, I could wake up in the morning, like anything good could happen. Like I could paint a masterpiece. I could innovate something that's never been done before. I can make your dreams come true, your wishes come true, all these things. So I've been feeling like these really wonderful, expansive feelings for the past couple of months. It hasn't gone away, even though I've had to work a lot to kind of keep that bubble going and not have it be kind of like encroached upon again by garbagey crapitude. But I want you to know that was a palpable change from the work that we did. And I know that that change radiates outward. I just felt it in California because this is where I live and I know what baseline normal is, but I know that it shifted things everywhere. And I also know that we amplify our signal when we dance together. It is time to amplify. You guys look at what's going on in the United States and in the larger series of events. It is time to activate whatever superpowers you have. Yeah, Aurelia's agreeing with me. She's just feeling it. Whatever superpowers you have, it is time to deploy those superpowers now and towards positive end of being able to reach in deep into your self-empowerment, reach deep into your ability to have a divine connection and to create and generate and shift and steer reality, larger events into much more positive directions. Yeah, and that's good. Aurelia says she really feels the team coming together, and I love to hear that. Pedro, I'll get you to your question comment in a minute. But because like we've been fighting forces of darkness and profound evil for a very long amount of time, but I think that we finally have very good traction in the conflict, in the battle. And then also that's when you keep going. Like you don't let up. You don't be like, oh good, like I've really got the enemy suppressed. Let me now like do the backstroke and go really easy. Like no, like pedal to the metal. Now is when you keep going. So yeah, we keep going. And the idea is breaking forward into just complete levels of freedom. And those levels of freedom are spiritual mastery, the types of things I'm going to talk about in class today. So that's the goal. That's what we dance for. We dance for spiritual mastery. It is beyond the sense of dancing for a materialistic reward, like a golden toilet seat or something like that. What you really want is freedom and the capacity to be empowered within that realm of freedom. And the freedom, to be clear, is your own freedom, not the freedom of your enemies and suppressors to like rape and destroy you. No, not their freedom. But it is also to live within context of cosmic law. Freedom also happens within a context of cosmic law, and that has everything to do with people learning their lessons and taking responsibilities for what they send out. So that's also a big part of freedom. So you guys want freedom, but the evil ones, they don't really want freedom. They want to keep on doing naughty stuff and not facing any repercussions. So that's my big housekeeping. You can find all of the information about the retreat and sign up and apply in the document link that I have in this video, and it will also show up as like a little thing over here in the corner. Invite, encourage, and celebrate people to come. Returning dancers, I can give you like a wonderful, discount for being loyal experts and returning again. And yeah, so just trying to facilitate as much as possible for people to be able to come and be a part of this. Pedro says, is there a way to know how much nano we have inside our bodies? So I would say probably a bit difficult for you to self-diagnose. I see it with my intuition. All right, so this is how I am able to grab something. So I'm ducking off camera. This is how I'm able to speak about this and to perceive it and quantify it in some way, but not everybody has intuition and not everybody is techno-intuitive. So I'm able to perceive it because I'm not only intuitive, but I'm techno-intuitive. So difficult for you to self-assess. But if you got one of these things, this is one of these little, it is like a skin treatment, whatever, little thing. You plug it in. and energy comes through this wand, and then this is full of a noble gas. It's a neon argon mix, and the energy kind of comes like lightning down this tube and out the end. And when you hold your finger this far away, it kind of sends a little lightning bolt out to it, and it zaps you a little bit. And it's supposed to be great for like collagen, anti-wrinkle, but I use it to zap the crap. Zap the crap. That's zap, especially the top word. Is what I use it to zap. And I bring this up because when I do sweeps of my body in areas where there's greater infestation, more zaps. And sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes it's areas like here around my wrist. I'm like, why is the crap there? I don't know why, but it is. And so I just do extra passes over there, right? But then someplace like maybe over here might be like minimal crap because I don't hear the crackling sound and not a lot of lightning coming out. So this thing was like $60, which is definitely in the budget for a lot of people. And I like it because I've had it for years and it doesn't run out of anything. It's not like buying a supplement and then you take the pills and then the pills are gone. Like it actually is something that you can invest in and use. It's called New Derma, NUDERMA. And there's plenty of them that you can find on eBay and other places like that pretty affordably. So I would recommend getting something like that. And not only using that to diagnose how you're doing with your nano load, your wet wear load, but being able to help remove it. So that is a tool, but it doesn't fix everything, but it paralyzes stuff. So I also use that tool on my spine. I will put it down at the base of my spine and have it go zap, 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 the middle of my spine, and then all the way up here to the base of my neck. And then I'll do a whole pass all around my skull. And that does not get everything out, but it paralyzes it for a brief amount of time. And then I'm able to do other subsequent things to move it from my body. And I also do a lot with supplements and other things like that. Like the methylene blue helps a lot in terms of diminishing it and removing it from my body. High doses of vitamin C, MSM, which is methyl sulfur something, which I'm sorry, I've never mastered how to say it or spell it. But it's an organic sulfur compound that actually is very positive for your body. It's positive for your body for skin, nails, and hair because it is a quotient of keratin production. But the sulfur is also essential for blood supply, making your blood the fourth phase of water that flows through your body with a wonderful electrical charge. So that's also why I do my broccoli microgreens and help people to focus on their sulfur-containing vegetables. The sulfur really helps a lot. So some of these things are about like, how do you get the bad stuff out? But then some of this is about how do you tone and strengthen your own stuff, your own abilities. And that's also one of the things that I focus on when I do session work with people is reactivating out of dormancy DNA's natural capacity to do proofreading, which is to compare the current state of DNA molecularly to its original energetic blueprint and note the changes and kick out crap and invaders and kick out mutations and transcription errors and everything else like that that's not supposed to be there. So your DNA naturally has this ability. The nano puts a straitjacket on it and makes it so that the DNA cannot effectively clear out the stuff that is creating the straitjacket. So what I do in my sessions is clear out the straitjacket, clear out the fibers, clear out anything that is trying to diminish the the DNA's own ability to clear that stuff out, and then reawaken and talk to the DNA and say, hey, you got to clear this stuff out. And then your DNA is like, good, I like clearing stuff out because I don't like living in a garbage heap. And then you get really empowered and very happy and pleased. Pedro just did a little search. He says he found them for $45 on eBay and he has several headpieces. Absolutely. So it comes with all these different little glass things. Just don't break the glass things because they're fragile, but there's some that are like for your head and for your scalp. And there's some bigger ones, and there's some smaller ones that are for like, your skin and putting creams on and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's actually an excellent investment in good stuff. Of the things that I have that are essential for fighting against this, that tool was an excellent investment. And same thing with some form of infrared, like get a chicken light. It's like $30. That really helps against infrared. I usually have it on this side of my bed. And I notice this side of my body has way less intrusions than this side of my body because I've got the red light always over here and I can see it, like fewer spider veins on this side of my body, fewer skin marks on this side of my body. Because, you know, like it leaves little marks and stuff like that. Like you can see them. Sometimes the marks, it's just so weird. Sometimes they even look like little red crystals or something like that, like totally unnatural hexagonal crystals, like stuck on your skin. Bizarre. But anyway, oh, I have a beautiful comment to read. This is from Aurelia. She says, I feel like I've got my superpowers back since your sessions. That makes me so happy. I am so pleased. That is fantastic. And thank you for sharing that with us here. So you share from your personal testimony. She says, thank you, thank you. You're so very welcome. And I'm so pleased to help you. And then I'm so pleased to get you up and optimally up to optimum speed so that way you can also help all of us too. This is very big, like we're helping each other climb the mountain here. So I'm very, very pleased to do that and to help people in that way. So that's most of the housekeeping before I get going on curriculum. But then also I have fun stuff. So Friday is my birthday, my body birthday. And so what I'm going to do is have an online listening party for my new album, The Wait. I actually released it, I think, a week or two ago. So it's already been out for a little while, but I haven't done my usual formal listening party. So we'll get together. I'll send out a link, you know, for the live stream, and we'll listen to music, and you can wear something fun and rainbow, and we can drink some coconut water because, you know, I don't drink alcohol, but we'll have a fun time and we'll hang out. So that will be Friday night. All right, Friday night, bookmark me. Going to do a live stream probably through YouTube. So everyone is invited. It is open to all lasagna enthusiasts. There is no fee. We'll have lasagna party, and it's a big birthday for me. It's a decade birthday. So we're going to do it in style. We're going to have so much fun. And Aurelia says, yes, drink coconut water instead of alcohol too. Totally. We'll have mocktails. It'll be very good and fantastic. So, and we got to celebrate because, you know, we fight this. I talk in these classes, you know, I talk about this naughty stuff a lot. We face a lot of difficulties. We face a lot of challenges. I'm often embattled, even though I take it, you know, with lightheartedness and good humor. But we have to make occasions to celebrate. Can't always be just slogging through. You're like, oh, more battle, more fight, more clearing, more detox. We have to be like, life's a fun adventure. Let's kick ass. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have some celebration on Friday night. Okay. All right. Good. And I hope that you will all join me there in your rainbowest, and we'll have a fun time. Okay. So now let me pull up my notes and I'll be all prepared for what we're talking about. Let me just arrange this a little bit better. I know I'm sprinting. I know. All right. So curriculum. This is officially titled about the Christian religion, but first, so now overview of what we'll talk about for our class for today. I want to talk about this shape and how this shape relates to ascended mastery. I know it's a little broken over here. We'll put some glue on it, so that you have a visual map of what you're doing on a soul level as you go through your ascension process. I want to talk about what ascension is like or was like. We don't have proper time language in ancient or concurrent Atlantis, and how that relates to our present level of ascension and challenges, because it's really all concurrent. It is not a linear experience. So you have varying overlays. So we're going to talk about generalized individual ascended mastery. We're going to talk about how people ascended in the pristine world, pre-consciousness invasion, what you would call the antediluvian world, or even the world before human genetic code was changed and diluted and diminished, how we did it in ancient concurrent Atlantis. Then I want to talk with you a little more about teacher Yeshua from 2,000 years ago, what it is to be an avatar, what it is to be an ascended master, why they come into our world. Then I want to make a big distinction between those who are conforming to these patterns of soul refinement and ascended mastery, and those who are really hacking and gamifying the system. There's a whole evil time society, a good word for it, They're like exploiters of time. So instead of truly facing their self-assessment about their behavior and what they've done in the world and what they've contributed, and whether it's responsible or positive or fulfilling, or whether it's something that's been corrosive and harmful, because these are like the parameters, like judged once like the math teacher looking at your equations and considering the accuracy of your life. We have to say, like, what are the parameters? And like, these guys have been doing everything they can to avoid the cosmic math teacher. So I really want to talk about that. That is not part of any of my formal curricula, because that is it's going to help inform your journey and help you to comprehend more about things that are hugely out of balance and the things that we have to clean up. And it even relates to this, specifically this stuff, this word on the bottom. False ascended masters relate very much to that word on the bottom. Okay, so you've got a little bit of a roadmap for the next couple of hours. And I just always feel like compelled to thank the people that are in my class, thank everybody who shows up for the live class, and thank everybody who watches the archive. I think that it's wonderful that you have the attention to spend several hours with me and are so assiduous, and that you apply your intellect so much to receiving and processing what I have to share with you. So thank you for your focus and for being really excellent students. Okay, so first of all, being an ascended master and the definition of that. And what does that mean? It means that you are ready to let go of your hats. Like, Roy, you've already lost us. What hats? What are you talking about? Okay. Your temporary personality characteristics, the hats that you wear. Like maybe you're like, I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I'm a teacher, I'm a bus driver, I'm a scribe, I'm a this, I'm a that. These are the temporary roles that you play in your family or in human society, but it's not the utmost definition of who and what you are as a soul. And it's necessary to let go of those personality characteristics and your emotional baggage in the right timing. Like as your balloon of consciousness is rising and elevating, you release or jettison your baggage, just like releasing sandbags as ballast, so that you rise at just the right rate. Your ascension is not happening in a contextless void. It really happens in conjunction with the sun, the stars, and the world of pure light. So although I tell you, you can't miss the ascension bus, like you are the bus, you also like can't fart around, and you have to do things at the right speed so that way you integrate, like you're integrating with all of these other larger scale events that are happening. And you have to recognize that. So you can also think of it as being like a swimmer or a surfer, and you're dealing with time currents that, you've got your own autonomy and your own rhythm, but also there are larger time waves that are coming through, and you're going to have to integrate with them so that way, you don't get crushed in a washing machine of swirling events. You're integrating well. So that's a big part of it. The release of your detritus and the non-permanent aspects of your ego self should happen at the right time. The journey of becoming an ascended master is the journey through this level of reality here. So now I'm going to go to the whiteboard and draw it for you. Oh, I always press the wrong thing. Stop. Old habits die hard. Because not only does Zoom do naughty updates, then they move stuff. Then I have to have smart people in my class tell me where they moved stuff to. Figure it out. Okay. So let's draw as this thing is coming up for us. This is a simplified version. That's a terrible drawing right away. Help me. Help me, someone. All right, let's try to do this better. That didn't even, the slope is all wrong. That's it. Class is over. I can't do this. All right, I'm only joking. Class is not over. We begin here. This is year 0. And then each one of these is not a lollipop, but is a simplification of a timeline. And these are actually timelines that exist in a swirl going around like this, but I'm simplifying it for the sake of this drawing. And that you have a central core timeline that I will make here in purple. And this is your timeline of ascended mastery. And it goes all the way to infinity. It never stops, all right? So that means that you go through this highly exaggerated, wait, let's make a different color. This is a highly exaggerated wormhole because it's not that fat. I'm drawing it like it's a big, giant opening. It is the tiniest, skinniest opening you could possibly imagine. It is really only the size of one timeline. In all of these various different timelines over here, there is literally only one timeline that brings you through that wormhole. And every place where I'm scribbling in green and all these other things, those are partial, imperfect reality structures. They're not the truest definition of self. They're not the complete definition of self and of who you are. They are partial and incomplete reality structures and versions of you. So this is literally the only version of you that is whole, that contains the totality of you, that contains all of your truthful personality characteristics, all of your essentials, all of your genuineness. And the key point here that I'm going to talk about is the journey of what it is like to go through that wormhole. So before I get to the wormhole, we have to talk about this leg of your journey over here, that this is expression of divinity through your life. That these are like the parameters or the equation wherein you create a perfect equation. The perfect equation of you, of your personality characteristics, but also how you integrate with the world. This is everything you say and everything that you think and everything that you do and how you share yourself with the world. It is perfect and perfectly integrated with everyone else's lives. You never played a wrong note, said the right thing and did the right thing at all times, and then ended up in this perfect alignment to be able to go through this wormhole over here. So it's not just like, you can't just live like a totally random life, like blah, 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 and then all of a sudden, ascended master. That is not how it works. You have to really be cultivating yourself every minute of the day throughout this whole entire journey over here of probably many, many, many years, sometimes hundreds of years or millennia, when I get to the sharing about ancient concurrent Atlantis. And then this moment when you go through this wormhole is a very amazing, magical, supernatural, and miraculous moment that is the culmination of all of this level of journey or pilgrimage up until that moment. Okay, so wait, now let me go back. Where's my notes? Just back to my notes. Okay. So when you've circulated all the way up to that level of refinement, and then you come to the wormhole, it is time to let go of everything that came before the wormhole. As I'm talking to you about this, I really want you to apply every word to your current incarnation. To really recognize that what you're doing is not just an individual ascension experience, but a planetary or group ascension experience. And that at a certain point, we'll reach a culmination event, crescendo, where it is like a watershed moment. Everything is different after that moment. And you will have to relinquish everything that defined you and everything that came before that wormhole in order to go through that wormhole or that event structure and come out or emerge on the other side. When you come out on the other side, you will be completely new. You will be completely redefined, and you will be in a completely new realm. This is what will happen in your life. You will not have to go through a mortality event. Some people may choose to go through a mortality event. You do not have to go through a mortality event. So you do not have to die in order to go to heaven, right? And going through the wormhole and achieving ascended mastery is the truest spiritual attainment that would be what we consider going to a paradise, not the very flawed concept that is promoted through Christian dogma of entering into a Christian heaven that is a stasis field, a static paradise where nothing really moves or changes or grows that much, but you just kind of float, maybe wearing something white in a white void, or white miasma, a white foggy area, and just be cool. That's kind of the concept of a Christian heaven, just like, oh, I'm in paradise, everything's great. But being an ascended master is much more active and much more engaged than that. You do not stop caring. You do not become disengaged from the world or from the people that you know and that you have interacted with throughout your life. Care about them as much or more because you're able to get the big picture view. Like if somebody drove you crazy on Earth, you're like, well, I can't stand that guy. He chews so loud, like, whatever. You always at work eating lunch with someone. You're like, I can't stand that guy. He chews his lunch so loud. But then when you become an ascended master, you're like, oh, I see so much about that guy and his life and everything he's been through and everything. And now I feel compassion towards him and love and care and all these different things. So you do change your feelings of care when you ascend and when you leave the realm of loud salad eaters or whatever, potato chip chompers or any of those very minor annoyances of what it is to be embodied in the world. I would even say they are Seinfeldian level annoyances, like the show Seinfeld. Like those, they're all, it's petty. They're all focused in very small level petty things that are not the real big things. But then when you ascend, you get this larger perspective where you're able to see what are the things that really matter and what are the things that are really profound, and you have much more of a deep sense of care. So it's not like you simply disengage, fly off on a cloud, and then you're like, see you suckers, and I don't care about you, and I don't care about your earthly life. You could shove your earthly life. I'm busy flying around like an angel. Like that is not the attitude of an ascended master. Yeah. Ascended masters care very, very much about the people, places, and things that we have been connected to. And this is also why I'm here as Flying Rainbow Lasagna. Because I didn't just ascend and be like, see you suckers, I'm flying around, I'm an impulse of light on the network of light, and I don't care about you at all. I'm like, no, this is me. I'm like watching everything that's going on down here, and I'm like, that is not okay. And I'm smiling, laughing about it, but I was not laughing about it at all. I'm very intimately aware, infinitely and intimately aware of how very wrong, screwed up and effed up things have been here, to the point that I chose to intervene in a very direct sense through my work as Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So I want you to know, very connected and real ascended masters stay connected. It's also, Earth is like my hood, my neighborhood that I graduated from. And when you do that, have a sense of continued love, care, and connection to the place that you came from. You're not just like, oh, who cares? Blow it up, like blow up Aldebaran, blow up Earth, who cares? But I'm talking about Star Wars and blowing up Princess Leia's homeworld. You care about your homeworld. You don't want them to laser your homeworld out of into extinction. You want to stop that kind of stuff. And ascended masters are uniquely well placed to stop that kind of stuff. Okay. But this all relates to all of you, all of us, on the journey of consciousness. And this also relates to making a distinction between real experts who do star travel without using a clank metal spaceship, but instead simply using the vehicle of their body form and their consciousness and their energy, and how we go through the sun and how we go through portals, in great contrast with any of the technology used in space races that have really been invading your world, exploiting human consciousness, violating you, and suppressing you. And I can't say it enough, but you don't want to be with those clank metal spaceship guys. Don't want to be with them. Don't want to get on board of their metal spaceships. They came to your backyard in the middle of the night, went out in your pajamas and you're rubbing your eyes and you're like, what, metal spaceships? And they were like, we come in peace, come aboard, like we'll blah, 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 visit with you. You should be like, no, you're made out of metal. I don't want to get on board. Truly. And it's also, it says a lot, like this is not part of my original curriculum, but we really have to have this talk. Materialism is such an invasive viewpoint that the search for alien life as humans know it on Earth's surface right now has been defined by materialism. The search for an artifact that is material, something that is substantive, something that you can sense with your five senses, like a fossil, a fossilized relic of something that once existed. It pretty much, the parameters for what you consider to be evidence of a UFO or an alien culture is the definition of finding something that is the evidence of a clank metal spaceship type of civilization. But there are many civilizations, hello, Aurora, right here, that we don't have clank technology. So we would not leave a fossilized record or any kind of artifacts that you would find and be able to analyze the molecular structure of the metal or something like that. Like, we do not leave artifacts like that. Our artifacts would be much more analogous to something like a concept, a math concept, a song, an art sharing, something that would inspire someone. And there might even be multiple versions of it made. Like, you can imagine, like, someone makes it as a dress and someone else makes it, as a wall hanging, and someone else weaves it as a tapestry. And you might see it all throughout different cultures. And you see lots of evidence of Aurora and the shapes and concepts that I embody all of these different beautiful cultures. But it might be like, it was knot work over here, and the knot work disintegrated. Over here it was mud huts, and they would put these amazing decorations in these patterns on the outside of the mud huts. There are no more mud huts. Like, it's just, there's not a record of all of the ways in which it was expressed through all the different time places, but it was there. But if you are a pure materialist and you are not, so I'm a light entity. If you want to know how you would define me and my people, I am a light entity. And my family is my family of coherent light, meaning like laser waves that weave together. Perfect harmonic structures, but not tangible, but experienced tangibly, but not something that leaves a tangible record. I mean, think about the aurora in the sky. It's definitely a visible phenomenon that you can see and you can sense with your five senses, but it doesn't leave a phenomenon. Like, it's fleeting, it's ephemeral, it's here, and then it's gone. And that's what my light body and light ships are really built like. Very, very great contrast with the lower level civilizations or organisms that use clank metal technology, where they need some extra technological contrivances to be able to do the things that we do as experts without technology. So they need external accoutrements of technology to be able to have memory, transmit their memory over vast distances of time and space, transport themselves or their consciousness or their materiality over vast levels of time and space, and to go interdimensional and go to different time places, like different either dimensions or different times or different strata of reality. They use technology to do all those things, and they also use technology in order to change, distort, and distress the natural movement of the soul on its journey between lifetimes or between bodies. That time is a very sacred time. When you die or have a mortality event, and then you're not housed in a body, and your consciousness is going to its next assignment or incarnation and habitation, that is when the vulnerable level of your consciousness has been acted upon by technology many times. And so I talk with people here, many people are aware of this, and some people call it like the karmic washing machine or other aspects of unfairness. And mostly people are recognizing how unfair, unjust, and wearying it is to be consistently recycled and recycled and recycled. And mostly what is wearying is that you're supposed to learn between your various cycles, and instead they mind wipe you and make it almost impossible for you to have continuity of consciousness and remember what you were doing and then where you are now. So it just makes it very, very difficult to accrete light. Light is information, it is data, it is intelligence, and you're supposed to accrete light across your various different incarnations. And they make it very difficult through artificial amnesia. That is not the way it is supposed to be. So what is continuity of consciousness? Continuity of consciousness is similar, an analog to the fractal microcosm when you go to sleep at night. So when you go to sleep at night, the way everybody here does it, you like eat Doritos while you're watching TV, and then you're like, I'm very tired, and you close your eyes and you go to sleep with like little crumbs like outside of your mouth. And then you don't remember anything that's going on, you know, in your dreams. You're largely insensate. And then you wake up in the morning and you've got Dorito crumbs on you, and you're like, what's going on? What time is it? Where have I been? I fell asleep watching TV. So that's that. That's like total unconsciousness. That's why I joke about the Dorito crumbs. Lucid dreaming is when you consciously cultivate throughout your day a wakeful presence where you're like, am I awake or am I asleep? Just throughout your day, be like I'm looking at my hand. Am I awake? Am I asleep? I'm looking at my phone or my computer. Am I awake or am I asleep? And then when you go to sleep at night, you watch yourself descend through the layers of consciousness, and you are still aware that you are yourself and that you're asleep and dreaming when you reach your dream state. And then you go through your different dream adventures. Then you ascend out of your dream state, coming more and more and more to the wakeful presence of your body. And then you come back into your body and you open your eyes and you're like, wow, I remember everything. I remember going to sleep and what I was thinking about. And then I also remember my first dreams and reveries and visions. And then I remember all the things that I did and all the weird stuff that happened. And then I remember waking up here again. So it's kind of like the way that a dolphin swims through waves. So if the bottom level of my screen is like wakeful consciousness, and below the screen is dreaming, and everything up here is waking consciousness during the day, dolphins dive, they jump up. I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake. Then they dive back in. I'm asleep, I'm asleep, I'm asleep. Then they jump back up. I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake. But when they do that, they remember the whole thing, because dolphins have both hemispheres of their brain alternating, so that they've got one hemisphere awake and one hemisphere asleep. So they've always got one hemisphere awake while the other one is underneath the waters, asleep and dreaming. And this is how they can sleep. If they didn't do that, they would just be like floating, like literally they'd be a sitting duck. They would be just sitting there in the ocean like for 8 hours, insensate, you know, like you would be sleeping on the couch. That does not fit their lifestyle at all, because there's lots of hungry things. They'd be like, oh, I think I'll eat you while you're sleeping. So they had to develop this way to be able to sleep half of the time and be awake half of the time. But they're doing it concurrently. They're both sleeping and waking concurrently. So to the dolphin presence, life is a long lucid dream where they are awake and they are asleep at the same time. And what we define as being awake versus being asleep has to do with not only continuity of consciousness, but consistency of form. If you place your glass of water, like, okay, oops. I'm trying not to trip on my treadmill. Hold on a second. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep at night. I'm gonna place my glass of water next to my bed. Boom, it's there. And then I'm gonna expect it to be there when I wake up in the morning. Like, I'm thirsty, drink my glass of water because I put it there because it's supposed to be there, right? That is continuity, like object continuity. But when you're in a dream, you're like, oh yeah, I was holding a glass of water, but then it turned into like an alligator, and then it turned into an umbrella, and then I put it on my bedside table, and then it disappeared. Like, that is not object constancy. That is magical or supernatural. And that is literally the definition between that we use to define a genuine materialist inhabited experience, as opposed to something that is dream or fantasy or fabrication, object permanence. But when you are asleep awake, like a dolphin, or constantly lucid dreaming, there's a shift in the permanence of stuff. And unless you're really focused on something, like, okay, put my glass of water, it's right there, it's still going to be there. Like, you have to use a willpower to kind of maintain it in existence. And then you come back and like, good, still there. I'm glad you didn't move or turn into an alligator. Then you're good. But if you don't really focus on those things, they tend to fly away from you or evaporate or go bye-bye. And I've had this experience many times. So sometimes it's with something like a crystal, and crystals naturally have sentience, consciousness, and this tendency to kind of like jump interdimensionally. Like I have one friend, she's passed on, but she used to carry around her crystal that was a giant purple amethyst named Mr. Purple. And literally she would like bring him on planes and on trains. She would like sit him on the seat next to her. And then one time he disappeared. And she's like, yeah, I had him in the car with me and he was right there. And then he wasn't there when I got to the destination. She, of course, checked the entire car and he wasn't there. And she checked many times over subsequent weeks. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, Mr. Purple magically showed up back on the seat. And that was just like inexplicable to the materialist viewpoint, but to the supernatural viewpoint, Mr. Purple was clearly traveling interdimensionally and then returned back. Or socks in your dryer. Truly, Tupperware lids, these are interdimensional travelers. I'm just being joking here, but I'm being so serious. It's usually smaller things. Pens, the dimension of lost pens, right? Like I had that pen, it was right here. Or if you have glasses for reading glasses or whatever, probably have 12 pairs of them. And then they disappear. And where do they go? And the answer is they go into another dimension, but then sometimes they hop back. But it is your willpower and your attention that holds them in this dimension. So our world has always been a non-materialist world. It has always been a world of malleability dependent upon our attentiveness and focus. However, now that we are in this planetary ascension process, all of that malleability is greatly amplified, where to the point you might have new buildings show up in your home, your community. You might be walking down a street that you've walked down many times before, and all of a sudden you look down the driveway or you look down the road and you're like, that's so weird. I don't remember there being a house there. Or I don't remember there being a little shop there. When did that show up? And the answer is, it just showed up. It just showed up. So we're now in this level of reality where our minds are directly manifesting physical material objects and edifices and places, but you're not yet in control of your manifestation. So it's a dream or a lucid dream, but it's still slightly out of your control, which is, a bit intimidating, a bit scary. And I also have found that, especially tiny objects and things, if I don't really focus on them, they tend to get lost or jump away. If I really focus on them, then I can keep track of them. So if I have something that's special, like, a set of earrings or whatever, like, okay, I put the earrings in this little box. I put it on my bedside table. And then I'm going to really focus on it because I want them to still be there, right? But other things in my life, like they come and they go, and like, I thought that was there, and it's not there, or whatever. And I have to just hold them very loosely. So I feel very much like the way an astronaut probably feels in a zero-G environment, where it's like, yep, if I don't specifically hold on to a tool, like it floats away from me and then it's not there anymore. So I have to be like, okay, like, you're going to get Velcroed somewhere. Like you are going to stay here. You are going to stay here. You're going to stay here, and you're going to be there when I need to, find you again. So just be aware that we are already in this very highly malleable and able to be influenced level of reality that is not the same as a static reality. So here's the ongoing theme. Paradise is a dynamic place where you're actually moving and growing and bouncing as a signal and moving on the network of pure light, not Christian heaven, which is a stasis field where you're stuck in a paradise and like you don't move or change or grow or learn or go anywhere. All right. And also your reality structure. Your reality structure used to be a static reality structure. Like here's your Earth terrarium. You put your pen down and like it stays there. It doesn't go anywhere. And there's nothing magical happening. And then you go back and find it later, unless your family member picks it up and moves it. Other than that, there's nothing that's going to make it jump out of reality. But that's the stasis field reality. Now you are moving into a much more expanded definition of reality as we're going through this ascension experience, but you're still not through the wormhole yet, but you're learning about what this experience is going to be like. And you have to begin holding some things loosely, allowing objects and possessions to kind of float towards you and float away from you. But then really holding on to the things, people and plants and living things that are most important to you. So, I'm always focused on like, where is my dog? Making sure that I'm attentive to her. Like, yep, I know where she is. Like, look like she's sleeping under the bed, or she's, sleeping on her dog bed over here. She is where she is. Because Cheeky is not just going to float away from me and disappear in this amorphous, space-time space. So be attentive to the people and places and living things and objects that you really care about, like my small set of earrings or my dog. But you have to really focus on them in order to kind of maintain them in reality structure. All right, but let's talk about you. Now, I was talking about things and stuff, but also you have to focus on you and maintaining the truest aspects of yourself beyond tiny screws floating away from you in space. What are your real personality characteristics? Who is the real you? And how do you maintain that real sense of self as you go through the world where there's so much turmoil and so much materialism and so many opportunities to try to either wipe you with amnesia or propagandize you out of knowing who you truly are? And how do you hold on to the truest aspects of yourself when you go through a solar portal, which is how experts do star travel? These are the real big questions for you. So when you emerge into a new realm, you are really a completely new person, but some aspects of yourself have continuity. That means the true eternal aspects of yourself have continuity, and also all the things that you've earned. And things that you've earned are like from your experiences, and your definition of self is really the sculpting of your form from what you've done and what you've been in the world. And that might also include some negative stuff. So I want you to know, like, you can't look at going through the sun as an absolution process or some kind of deathbed confessional where they're like, okay, you did a lot of bad stuff, wipe it, wipey, and now on to your next incarnation. Everything is fine. You're always forgiven. No, you really cannot look at it in that way. And you can't just be like, I eject or release this, and this stuff that I don't like about me or that happened to me. It's not as live as that. So some bad stuff that happened to you is part of the defining characteristics of who you are. Like if you stood up to injustices or whatever, if you were a political prisoner, something where, bad stuff happened to you and you got tortured or tormented because of it, that you should not wipe that away, even though there were real scars and injuries that happened as a result, because it's part of the light that you've shown in the world. Like stood up to darkness, right? So even if they did something really bad to you or amputated some part of you, you will be restored, but you can't have that part wiped away because it's part of the defining aspect of yourself. Not that you are defined as a victim or even as a survivor experiencer, but you're defined by your response to what happened that was a great injustice. And that really is the definition of what it is to be a hero in the world. That you rose above adversity, responded to things instead of just allowing negative things to happen, did problem solving, did self-empowerment, and did things that had an impact on the world. So that's part of your true definition of self and your eternal aspects of self. What are some other eternal aspects of self that you define yourself by? They're the things that you carry with you, no matter what, that you would be or embody in any type of life form. So I'm very creative. I'm an artist and a musician and a teacher, really in any reality structure or type of embodiment that I'm in, that's who I end up being. Yeah, and I'm also like endlessly energetic, endlessly creative. These are some of the defining characteristics of who I am. So I am not worried. This is me like, oh girl, like I've been through the sun a million times. Don't worry. But truly, don't worry. But your ego might be afraid. And I did this last week. I talked about the ego, the rainbow journey, the journey of returning back to the source. The ego fears its own demise. The ego is temporal and it knows like, I'm gonna exit the wormhole. The ego does not come with you when you go through the wormhole, but your true sense of self does. So we would call your true sense of self like your ascended ego. I have an ascended ego that is named Aurora. I have already ascended. That is what I did way back in ancient or concurrent Atlantis. And so I know that my recipe is good, right? And then I did a backbend and came in here to be able to share flying rainbow lasagna with you guys. But that is how come I know that this stuff is totally bogus. It's bogus as a lie detector, and it is bogus as an ascension assessment tool because it has falsely assessed me many times. Because this is me. I'm like, oh yeah, your system is very effed. I'm going to enter your very effed system. And the very effed system is like, oh yeah, no, you don't get to ascend. And I'm like, what do you mean I don't get to ascend? Like, of course I'm supposed to ascend. I'm the ascension personality. I'm totally shaped the right way and my recipe is correct. And the system is like, no, I'm the effed system. You have to stay and go through the washing machine again and again and again until you're allowed to get out. So that's part of why I'm here. Please let me articulate that again. I know that I am calibrated correctly. I came into purposefully a very, very miscalibrated system, I meant to say. I came into intentionally this very miscalibrated system. This system is a flawed lie detector that is attached to an automated guillotine. That is bad stuff. Lie detector is bad enough. A poorly calibrated lie detector can ruin your life. But this is a poorly calibrated lie detector that not only can't tell whether you're telling the truth, but often projects falsehoods on top of you and hallucinates and lies about you. And then is connected to an automatic guillotine that decides, time to execute you. You're not good enough. So this is just a complete recipe for disaster and a complete invalidation of any of the assertions of the techno inquisition, which I have referenced many times in this class, over the past year or two. But no, it is a completely flawed lie detector that cannot be looked at as any kind of a tool for goodness assessment. It is not. So I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Charlie B, but someone once told me that they had heard a rumor that this stuff, and then of course this stuff is assembling this stuff in humanity, was a type of ascension assessment tool that had either been deployed on this planet or escaped its bounds from a higher dimensional species that was trying to say like, well, are you good enough to ascend? Well, let's sprinkle this horrible crap on top of you. And then if you're a good enough person, you'll transcend the crap, no problem, and you'll just ascend away. And if you're not a good person, then you'll be stuck down there in the crap and you'll get corroded and go down the cosmic toilet. And I can't tell you strongly enough how wrong that is. That is not what you are facing. And I've done all of the assessments to be able to, like a computer programmer or a systems engineer, to be able to say, well, where is it flawed? Why is this stuff not an adequate assessor of either goodness or righteousness, or whether you are the right shape to ascend? And I've mapped the entire thing. And then I presented my work to the thing, and the thing was like, oh, I don't care. That's how you know it is a flawed lie detector. It is intentionally flawed. So it is an imprisonment tool, not an ascension assessment tool. So you cannot pander to it and be like, oh, please, let me ascend. I'll do harder, try better. Let me try again. Can't do that. That's pandering to it. It is invalid. And it would be very happy to say, okay, go try again. But its standards are so flawed that you would just become a worse person. And then it would be like, nope, you're not good enough. Try again. And then you would get more distorted and more and more and more distorted. It would bring you further and further away from your true self and further away from God. It's a horrible and disgusting ploy. I warn you about this. Please don't fall for it. No, it has zero merit. And it is a totally worthless system that is 100% an impediment to ascension and a barrier to ascension and a delayer of the natural ascension process. And then one of the other things that it does, not only a barrier, not only delaying, not only obscuring, but also it creates terrible habits. Like if you are training a horse and you want to train it to walk at a certain pace and then canter at a certain pace and gallop at a certain pace. And you make it to all of these uncomfortable and unnatural things. They do this, like for horses to put their body in a certain way and prance in a certain way and do this and that and whatever. And it's all just for nonsense. It's just for the horse Olympics. It's not anything that has an innate merit. humans are being puppeted in exactly the same way by this false system that if you pander to it, it's just going to make you do all sorts of backbends and convolutions and things that are really unnatural movements of your soul energy to please it. And you shouldn't be doing any of these things. Every single motion that it is trying to coach you towards is anti-ascension. So I learned about this because it does all sorts of things attacking your attention, your tendril of attention, attacking what you should basically be focused on, Christ. And you should be focused on the inner sun. And it's like, no, don't focus on that Christ and on that inner sun. Focus on this crapola over here. And then I want you to do these energy exercises over here. And always do these breathing exercises over here. And then always do your willpower like this. And then always do this and this. And you're doing all of these really distorting energy exercises to please and pander to this thing that is anti-ascension. And then the point is, it gives you really bad habits. And then when you actually get to ascension, you're like, okay, like I'm holding up my 12D blah blah shield and I'm breathing in only through my left nostril. And then I'm jumping on one foot and I'm thinking of the square root of pi and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and all these things. And then you find out like none of that is ascension posture. None of that is natural. None of that is your real personality. None of that is your real behavior. All of that is the way that you've been trained to be some kind of a trained like ascension horse for these very evil things that are just trying to not only delay or inhibit your ascension process, but to, exploit and train you to do things that are convenient for evil that have nothing at all to do with natural ascension. So I get angry and inflamed when I see this going on because I'm like, none of that stuff is natural ascension experience in this world. You should have the natural ascension experience, which is essentially effortless. And they have made this entire system and the gamification of energy and of ascension through this entire system that makes it effortful and makes it also hackable, where it's like, this guy over here is going to do this. And then this guy over here is going to do this. Like it's a video game. Like you're playing like, well, I'm going to push these buttons and I'm going to push these buttons and I'm going to run over here and then I'm going to make the football happen, make the kickoff or whatever. That is not what ascension is. You know what ascension is supposed to be? You don't have to effort. I want to say you don't have to do SHNT, but you do not have to effort. You do not have to try to put on like your spiritual false eyelashes and your spiritual push-up bra. I'd be like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. No, you can actually just be exactly who you are without accoutrements and extra amplifications and know that you're good enough and make it through the wormhole. That's what you're supposed to do. You're actually supposed to be completely unself-conscious. Completely not playing a part, not performing, not playing a role, completely authentic. You're supposed to be completely non-self-conscious, unstudied, and authentic. And the gamification of the ascension process and everything that's been happening with this technological BS nonsense has been to create people who are very self-conscious. And like, even the way that people are now very aware of how they look in their phone and photos and videos. Like everybody knows, like I have to stand like this, but I have to stand like this, but I have to stand like this, but I have to stand like this. Like everybody knows, like no one's just having a regular picture. Like, wait, I have to stand like this and like this. This is what I'm talking about. Like the self-consciousness, the way that we've been taught in how technology is affecting us through phones, photos, cameras, and video. People have learned like, oh, I just can't be my natural self, whatever, at the picnic or wherever I'm going. Like, I have to stand like this. I have to stand like this. I have to hold myself like this. It's not the way you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be like, yep, that's me at a picnic. And I'm sitting there eating watermelon and, whatever. I have food on my face. Juice is dripping down my face. It was a beautiful moment. And no one's doing that anymore. And so these are both parallel things. One is a literalism in terms of the self-consciousness, in terms of social media, self-presentation. And one is self-consciousness within the gamification of false light ascension that's going on. Because in the gamification of false light ascension, you have to pander and please your masters. It's not just looking good enough for Instagram. It's like, do I look good enough for the satanic infrastructure? Like, will I be judged well? Are you going to think the right thing about my mind? Because it's also a hugely fallible system and a hugely hackable system. So just to contrast briefly, true Christ, like you cannot hack the system because true Christ can see into you like a effing laser. You're not going to hold up a shield or a mask or pretend, here's my spiritual push-up bra and my false eyelashes, and I'm more than something that I am. No, true Christ can see, like, I see exactly who you are, and you can just stop fronting and pretending and be who you really are. And true Christ is literally the only one who is in any position to judge or assess you because it sees 100% who you are from like the moment of conception through your whole entire life and every single thing you've ever done and every single thought you've ever thought. So that's the only one who would be in any position to make any kind of an assessment about your goodness or your righteousness, or whether you should go through the wormhole. But more to the point, all of those assessments are off the table since 2020, since they started to inject this crap into people's skin. And since they started to do the millimeter wave and the garbage that has been spewed throughout this world, it's implanting thoughts into people that you are not obliged to own as your own. And I've noticed a huge change in my own mental landscape, where it's just garbage. And it happened like overnight when they turned on this technology. So here's me like living my life unselfconsciously. And I'm like, yep, Christ, assess me. I'm ready. Like, hit me with your light. And then there's like this implantation of all this garbage. And I'm like, hope that Christ can tell the difference between me and the huge garbage dumps that are trying to come inside of me at this point. Because I spent a lot of my initial like first year or so in the garbage dumping realm being like, that's not me. 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 Because it's all like, nope, that's synthetic telepathy. Nope, that's a false voice. Nope, that's a demon. Nope, that's a that. That's a that. Like, first of all, it's a huge insult that Christ should be like, wow, like that person down there is totally getting steamrollered by a bunch of synthetic telepathy, you know, evil minions, implanted entities. Like they're like getting bitten by sharks and parasites. They're not even being their true self. So please know that if you're like me and you've been struggling since 2020 or so with the technological implantations and distortions in your mind and in your body and in your spirit, the true Christ is like, no, like I pity those poor people who are trying to live their lives amidst frequency garbage, as opposed to I judge you harshly because you're filled with frequency garbage. So true Christ is not going to judge you harshly. Be like, oh no, you can't get into Christian stasis heaven. You're full of frequency garbage. Because you'd have to be like, well, you know, Christ, like you didn't exactly stop any of this frequency garbage from happening here, and I'm doing the best I can amidst a very impossible situation. That would be appropriate if you wanted to do that. But we'll get into true Christ and Christ consciousness as opposed to Christian religion and Christian doctrine. But please know there's a huge level of meta society of ascended masters and those who have true vision, who can see what's going on here, and they know the distinction between your true mind and what's an implant. And they know what you are truly responsible for and what are your true motivations and behaviors, in contrast with things that have been perpetrated upon you or that you have been behaviorally controlled into or even mind controlled into. And many people are being behaviorally and mind controlled by the implantations in their bodies right now. It invalidates this entire world and everything that's going on here. This is not a genuine ascension. Which again, in a genuine ascension, you don't have to worry about like, is my posture right? Is my hair okay? Is my this, is my that, my self-image? You can just be like, this is me, and this is what I look like, and this is what I did with my life. But in a false ascension, where there's all of these projections and things that are going on, then you have to worry about misperception. You have to be like, wow, like that's not even me. That's like a total fakeness that is being perpetrated as me, and you should defend yourself against those things. Hold on, I need to have just a brief break because I need to get some more water. Hold on one moment. Thank you for pausing. Just reading a few questions and comments here. Lanley, and thank you for being here, says, needs to be the new trending bumper sticker. True Christ can see who you are with a cartoon Jesus with lasers out of his eyes. I love it. I think that we should make that immediately and sell it to people on the internet. You know, it's a worthy project. And it should be like, you know, like those memes of cats that have lasers coming out of their eyes. It should be along that level too, like the traditional Jesus with like green lasers coming out of his eyes. I love it. Thank you. And we need humor. We need humor and lightheartedness too. attention dialed into a higher dimension. I like that. That's ADHD. I could have a whole diatribe about what ADHD is, but I don't think that it is a whatever negative diagnosis as people. I think that you're actually just a regular person that is extremely bored in the world and needs to do things that are more stimulating and whatever. So yeah, I like that. Attention dialed into higher dimension. So let's talk about what it is to go through the sun. Kind of like recalibrating here towards the positive and away from all the negative stuff that I have to talk about. The really high up extraterrestrial and extradimensional beings that are the desirable levels of higher dimensional society or culture that you would wish to interact with. We come through portals in the sun. So we do not fly in a clank metal spaceship. We don't need no stinking technology. And we use light bodies to enter and exit this physical reality through a portal that's in the center of the sun. But really what we're doing is using the entire network of light. So that's really every photon and the center of every particle of light and the center of every sun or star that is there. That is what we use to be able to transport consciousness around the larger cosmic infrastructure. And it's possible to do this because this type of light being has chakras that are in perfect alignment. Let's show you a picture of chakras that are in perfect alignment. It's this. Get the annotation. No, that's not what I want. This is what I want. I pressed the button. I was scared, but I did it. All right. All of these chakras are in perfect alignment. The ones that are horizontal are at perfect 90-degree angles to the ones that are vertical. And that means that when the sun, if this is the sun up here and it emits a waveform, it's going to come through this person. Let me see if I can draw this effectively. Frictionless bliss, perfect frictionless bliss, with nothing that slows down that person or incinerates them, and more to the point, it energizes them. As that energy goes through, this guy like whirls even faster. This one goes even faster. Like all of these energy centers energize and ramp up and get even faster. So that is what it is to be a true light being and to truly go through these solar portals as your way of transportation of consciousness. The chakras are energy centers, and everything about these energy centers or time structures is in perfect alignment with divinity. And that means that not only is there no friction, there's no incineration, you don't lose anything. Really, you go through these portals of the sun or higher dimensional portals, and you're not wearing clothing. You're just in your natural form. And the things that come with you are the eternal aspects of yourself, and you don't lose anything because all of the stuff that is the real you is energized and comes with you. But all the stuff that is not the real you cannot make it through that transformative experience. That is what it is to go through the wormhole. So I'm talking about two parallel things. One is going through the wormhole that is at that culmination of the vortex that is represented in your chakra system. And that culmination moment is also analogous to going through a portal in the sun. And our whole entire planet is going to have this experience. And this is really going to be transformative, and it is going to be selective, like a refinery, selecting certain people, personality characteristics, and event structures to come through and make it to the other side. And some things will not and cannot come through and make it to the other side. And you must accept and celebrate that, because those are non-eternal, either aspects of self or edifices or even organisms. Yes, it is true. There are some synthetic organisms or constructs that are here that totally will not make it through the sun. If we're working in percentages, they're like 0% in existence and 100% fabrication, 100% temporal. They have no real existence in eternal reality. And that can be really distressing and confusing to your intellect, because your intellect is very limited. And you're like, look, I'm talking to this thing. It's right there. Of course, it has existence in reality. But I'm trying to say it does not have a permanence in reality. You're only talking to something that has a temporal, I wanted to say ephemeral, but let's say evanescent. It will melt away. A temporal experience that will melt away in the huge consciousness force field that is known as the sun or the world of pure light. And it cannot withstand being in that level of illumination. Some things cannot stand illumination. They will be unmade in that level of consciousness and awareness. So you want to interact with those of us who are from the higher cultures that do not use technology and travel through star portals in order to transport our consciousness or our idea structures into different places, okay? When we take a sun bath or go through the sun, enter the sun, and it just rejuvenates us. It doesn't make you get incinerated. It doesn't make you go slower. It doesn't fry your circuits. It actually makes you purified, burns off anything that's not supposed to be there, and supercharges and energizes so you come out the other side with tons of energy, feeling fantastic. This is why I can say this to you, because I've done it. I'm like, no, you don't have to be afraid about going through a solar portal or a solar flash or any of those types of solar events. When you are an eternal being and when you identify with your eternal self, you will be like, this feels fantastic. Wait, I want to joke. I want to kind of like set myself and be like, you'll be like when you're in the shower and like the water is coming on, you'll be like, this feels fantastic. Like the sun is going through me and I feel wonderful and amazing. And then you come out the other side and you're great. And I think the shower is a perfect example of this too. Because like when I'm in the shower, you know, I'm like, oh, like, yeah, like I'm lathering my hair, I'm washing everything. I emerge with myself. Like the shower doesn't like wash my skin off or wash my hair off. It does wash off bacteria and gross dirt and poops and things that aren't supposed to be there. And of course, you know, you scrub off dead skin cells that aren't supposed to be there. So you emerge from your bath or your shower as your true self in purified form. And that is the same exact thing that happens when you go through a solar portal. You maintain the integral parts of you. Those do not wash away. But the parts of you that are not eternal or that are just poop or dirt or bugs or whatever it is, or gardening or something like that, worms, it all gets washed away, does not stay, okay? One would want to climb on board of those vessels that are in perfect alignment, because those vessels are in perfect alignment with divine energy. So also you can't rape your way on board. And I've said this many times, much to the consternation of those very evil things that are trying to do exactly that. So these very naughty things aren't just trying to slow down ascension. A bunch of bad stuff make you misidentify with non-eternal personality characteristics as if they are yourself. They are also trying to use you to hitchhike, hijack, and be like a soul jockey on you, riding your ascension as you rise higher and get into more elevated levels of consciousness. They're trying to ride along with you, and we got to get to the ride along. So press pause on that concept, but I'm going to tell you all about who and what the ride alongs are. So some of the ride alongs are part of this anti-excellence society that is a time distortion society, but it is also intimately connected to not only this, but specifically this and the tiny false lights that this stuff transmits around your body. Pickles of the dead, the ride-alongs. We're going to talk all about this. Let me read a little bit more from my notes, okay? So a consciousness group like my group, the Aurora, would be considered a very, very positive ship, or vessel is a better word, to be in alignment with. On board is a loose allegory, because it is not a plain metal spaceship, and being on, like, the idea of a metal spaceship is even violative, where you have like, here is your, you know, metal shell, and then the door opens and you're going to go inside of the metal shell. And also there's no question of consent. It's just like entering something or someone. It's very phallic. It's very disrespectful. it shows the mind state of the technology users and what they are. But that's why on board must be in quotes. When you think about going on board of a light vessel, there's no way to rape your way on board. There's no way to force yourself inside. There's no way you can be like, okay, light ship, like I'm gonna get a laser beam and I'm gonna open you up like a can of sardines. I'm gonna force myself inside. I'm gonna live inside of you, whether you like me or not. Cannot do that. So there are many, many fail safes that protect light ships from being boarded and entered like pirates, trying to get their way on board. You would not want pirates of consciousness with their gross, disgusting, rotting teeth and, horrible hygiene and very, very bad value system to come on board of a light vessel with all of its empowerment and flexibility and ability to move through the fabric of time space. Because this is pirates are doo-doo. And you don't want to spread doo-doo all around the whole house. You want to be like, give that into the compost heap, not spread it around the whole network of light. All right. So there's many, many fail safes to prevent. When I say you can't rape your way on board, it is the tendency to power abuse and tendency to violate others and cross boundaries. These are hugely negative personality characteristics that cannot enter into the higher dimensional space. And getting on board and going into the realm of pure light and accelerating through the sun's portal is about entering into a higher dimensional space. So you can't get there by violating. Can't get there by hacking and exploiting. All of that manipulation and game playing and false eyelashes. And also, ladies, I want you to know I love you. If you wear false eyelashes or push-up bras, like I love you. I'm not judging you, but please do what you like to do for yourself. But I'm using them as allegories in spiritual attainment of things that are artifice and that aren't positive in their artificial nature when we're supposed to be unself-conscious and just be our true self. And I really mean it. And if you have, just like ladies, like if you have small or sparse eyelashes, or if they're blonde, they're not that full or whatever, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. If you have blonde eyebrows, that is beautiful. You don't have to change yourself. Just want you to notice. And whatever size your chest is, you're beautiful as you are. I want you to know this. That is actually what the true Christ would say to you. The true Christ would be like, you don't have to augment yourself, pump yourself up, or be or this or that to impress me. Like, I love you. I love you. I think you're beautiful. And God would be the same way. God would be like, I love your blonde eyelashes. I know I'm getting a little bit far afield and being a little silly, but my dog has blonde eyelashes, and I think it is the best look on her. She's got tiny, short, little blonde eyelashes. So what I'm trying to say is like, somebody out there is going to find you as cute and adorable and lovable with your tiny blonde eyelashes as I feel about my dog. Please be your truest self. And what I'm talking about is not really your eyelashes. I'm talking about your personality, who you are in the world, and whether or not you feel like you have to change yourself. And this gets into deep levels of religion. Religion for many people is a way of changing themselves to be quote unquote good enough to be loved by God. And I would really like to change and shift your mentality, if that's how you look at religion and how you think of it in the world, as shifting completely to you are loved, you are enough, you are good enough in the moment. And you don't have to study and learn a particular scripture or become a scholar of a particular language, attend a particular building, attend particular community meetings, perform ablutions, or perform sacrifices, or only eat certain things or never eat certain things, or ritualistically eat certain things at certain times in order to be perceived as beautiful by God. That's my message, what God would say to you. I love you, and you are beautiful. And religion has really been generated and structured to respond to these very artificial implants that have been placed into humanity on a genetic level that tell you you're bad, you're wrong, you're shameful, gross, and disgusting, you are innately sinful, you better put on some false eyelashes or something because you're not looking very good, right? That's like what a lot of the Christian religion is. It really exacerbates and plays upon those implanted feelings of low self-worth to the point that Christian religion is often used as the rock bottom, what is it, when you bootstrap, rock bottom bootstrap, that a lot of people in their lives reach a rock bottom that is either through poor life choices, being violated by others, or substance abuse, where they get to their lowest point. And then religion becomes the bootstrap for them, where they're like, I got to change my life. Things have to get better. I'm going to just confess everything, fall on my knees and say, that's it. Like, I have nothing. And I'm, a total eyebrowless loser. Somebody help me up there. And then take part in organized religion, which is literally the pathway for people that have identified so much with this not truthful, but what they believe is truthful, sinful nature. First, to implant the concept that you are a worthless sinner, bringing people to levels of rock bottom, and then offering the pathway as the arsonist then becomes the firefighter rescue team that says, I will rescue you now. So after bringing you to a very, very great low point, to then rebuild you. And it's usually in a sense of a total, what is the word, abdication of your own authority to the authority of the church. That's when you say, I'm an eyebrowless loser, I know nothing, and have effed up my life completely. Somebody save me, and they say, I will save you, but you're going to have to do this, this, and this. You're going to have to believe this, this, and this, and you're going to have to listen to me. And people will do that, and that is all very unhealthy. So I'm calling that out, that is not a positive thing, because like I told you, the true Christ sees everything about you and would say something along the lines of like, I didn't want you to get involved with all those drugs and bad things, but you're not required to abdicate your authority and call yourself a worthless sinner just so that I can come along and try to help you to make your life better. Like, none of that is a positive, healthy relationship. God and Christ would absolutely be looking at you with so much love and compassion, but wouldn't need for you to confess your unworthiness in order to then be accepted into the stasis field that is known as Christian heaven and the paradise. So we're really talking about I don't really think that was ever appropriate, but it might have been at one point appropriate for a certain level of human development, like many millennia ago, but definitely not appropriate for the moment now. People need to be taking personal responsibility and not abdicating their own responsibility to an external religious authority figure that says, I will absolve you of all of your sins. Say this phrase this many times. Here's the recipe. Say this phrase this many times. Give me this much money, and then go over here and do this. Then you will get into Christian stasis field heaven. And none of that is happy or healthy. All right. So we have to have this conversation about how Christianity has been hijacked and who and what the original teacher was and what is the intention behind that original teacher. But before we do that, let's talk about ETs and ascended masters. So before we talk about that, let's talk about, so who are ascended masters? Ascended masters are those who have made it through the wormhole. But I also just told you that making it through the wormhole is not just like some weird random coincidence. Like, you lived a random life and then all of a sudden one day, oh, look, a wormhole. I think I'll just jump through it. You're like a totally uncultivated person. No, in order to get through the wormhole, it's like going to the Olympics. I don't follow all of the sports things, but it's in the news a lot. These are athletes who have trained for their whole entire lives. They ate, slept, and drank their sport and trained their bodies, all day long, every day for like, whatever, 15 or 18 years to be able to get to the Olympics. Being an ascended master is on a similar level of personal attainment, where your daily goal every day is not, how can I earn the most money? How can I be the richest? How can I be the most famous? How can I get the most social notoriety? How can I marry the richest man? Or how can I, achieve the largest bra size? None of it is about those. Those are all material concerns and motivations. The motivations of a person who is cultivating themselves towards ascended mastery, you wake up every day and you say, how can I be my most authentic self? That's it. That is the weightlifting exercise for being able to be a spiritual athlete. And it is actually very difficult. It is very, very challenging. It is, as challenging as whatever, lifting your body weight or doing all these different things that gymnasts do. The frequency of authenticity is hugely empowering, and it does have a very strong force field around you, like it creates a huge coherent field around you. And authenticity can be defined as, it's not always like, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm this, I'm that, I'm hungry, I'm gassy. Authenticity is when you speak your truth. And it is absolutely related to chakra at this level of communication, honesty, and authenticity. So in a relationship, when you are authentic, sometimes you're hungry, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're amorous, sometimes you're not. In society, being authentic is very challenging because they have literally monetized with rewards being inauthentic. And that's called work. Nobody wants to go to work unless you're one of the rare people that loves what you do. So like, I love my job here as Professor, air quotes, Aurora. I love my job making my paintings. No one has to be a taskmaster making me do that. I love my job being a musician and making music. And I love my job designing my paintings onto clothing. And I love my job making broccoli sprouts. And I love my job doing personal sessions. And I love my job doing the things that I do in the world. So at times when I have done work outside of my true life's calling and missions, it has felt a lot more like work. Like I've done a lot of work in small offices or being a personal assistant, helping people with their computer stuff, covering their passwords. That felt like work, because I was like, wow, I don't want to have to help this person cover their passwords, but I got to do it because they've got to, whatever, release an album or, contact this music producer over here. Like I've usually worked for other artists and musicians. So I justified it and I felt like, oh, I'm helping someone. I'm helping them in their life and doing something good. But like, that's really why we work. We earn money and get motivated because we wouldn't do it otherwise. But all the things that I do that are my real work, I would do it no matter what. I would do it whether I got paid or whether I didn't get paid. So that's a really, really good calibration for how you can tell whether something is authentic. But I can't judge anybody because there are many times when I worked, so I could put bread on the table, like snap. Like I put my bread on the table. Yeah, I did it. That is righteous. That is honorable. But of course, especially in this moment of planetary ascension, what we all really want to do is focus as much as we can on being 100% authentic. So that means the way that you earn your daily bread should be fully in alignment with your life's purpose. And when you do that, that is like going through the wormhole before you go through the wormhole, because you don't have to change, distort who you were. When I did computer work and I worked in people's offices and stuff like that, like I didn't stop being Aurora, but I just wasn't fully myself. You know what I mean? Like I was only a fraction of who I really was. I was totally out of the closet though. They knew I was a galactic walk-in, and also Chica came with me on all work assignments too. So we were always there, like doing more than just emails and marketing campaigns and helping people. In that way, we had lots of wonderful, deep conversations. But also, like I was not 100% myself. I was like whatever. 59% myself or 14% myself, depending upon what I was doing for other people. And I always tried to make good choices, of course, about who I worked for and what tasks I did. So, I never really did a type of job where it was like digging a ditch or something that I would never be doing, without the motivation of money. Money motivates you to do stuff. And yeah, if you're hungry, you will dig a ditch for money. But I always tried to manifest good opportunities where at least I was helping people and making good choices and learning and growing, or bringing something into the world more than just merely earning money. So I bring this forward because like you have to be authentic in the world, but also you gotta feed your family, feed yourself, take care of your rent, take care of your car insurance. You gotta do these things. It's very important stuff. So there is always a way to remain authentic even when you are interacting with society. But I will tell you, sometimes it might be inconvenient to society. There's a lot of funny stories about me working in the world in my various different, jobs that I've had to. where yeah, I inconvenienced others with my authenticity. And that just, we'll save that for another one of my Aurora stories, personal walk-in sharing stories about some of those things. So yeah, because being authentic can also be about this. It can also be about your emotional state. So if you are a non-neurotypical person and you're authentic and you work in an office or with other people, you might need to communicate with them. You might need to tell them like, oh, I don't pick up on emotional cues, and you'll have to explain this or that to me. And then I will be able to work very happily for you. So you can have the job and be a computer programmer, but what you can't do is pretend to be non-neurotypical and be a normative person and just think like, oh yeah, I'm gonna understand everybody's communication, totally get all their social cues and all of their eye contact and all those things. Like, you can't do that. You have to just be like, oh, I am me. This is how I interact in the world in my own unique shape. So authenticity, to sum all of that up, is remaining your own unique shape in the world and not sacrificing who you are in order to gain physical resources, which is, survival. But sacrifice is the word. Like, sacrifice can be if you cut a person's head off or an animal's head off. You're like, yeah, they don't have a life anymore. And their life force energy and their blood is sacrificed and dedicated to the God of blah, blah, blah. But when you are not authentic, you can still have your head and still have your physical metabolism, but you have been sacrificed in the sense of no longer being your true self in the world. And that is very much a peril and a danger of technology in general, and this stuff specifically, as this stuff has invaded people's neurology and affected their perception, their cognition, and their behavior. It has made it even extra hard to be your true authentic self in the world, even beyond having office jobs and things like that, that it has been almost impossible since they turned on the millimeter wave in 2020 to keep on feeling your true feelings, choosing the words that you would naturally choose. So your common ways of communicating and your common vocabulary and lingo and even body postures and ways of being able to move your body in the world and being able to move your DNA and be free instead of having a DNA straitjacket on you. All of those things have been limited from technology in our world. So it's been almost impossible to be authentic here. And the true Christ knows that. The true Christ is not going to judge you and be like, you were not authentic enough during that horrible time of tribulation when they were trying to sacrifice your soul to a technological God. No, the true Christ would be like, wow, I'm glad that you survived and are as intact as you are. I apologize wholeheartedly that you had to go through that, because none of this is fair. All right. So please know that that's what the true Christ would be talking to us about. And that positive, benevolent extraterrestrials and extradimensionals and the true meta consciousness organization known as Christ is desperately trying to get through the limitations and get through to you. So those are stratospheric, like satellite limitations, false sun, frequency garbage from technology, implants in your bodies, and other forms of obscurity, things that are making it so you can't see, smoke screens and other things that are making it so you can't see. And the true Christ is absolutely there and is like, hello, like I'm right here, I'm trying to talk to you. And it is almost impossible to get through. So very, very challenging. Okay, so let's talk about extraterrestrial versus extradimensional. So I am technically extradimensional, but I'm still aligned with terrestrial life because this is my neighborhood and where I came from. But extraterrestrial would be considered life that does not originate from or have an association with Earth. And extradimensional would be from outside of the dimension. Don't mistake extraterrestrials for ascending masters, because some extraterrestrials have never even lived in a physical, somatic, biological body, and they've only been like in an ephemeral or pure energy form. They never made it to this level of density. And so first of all, they've never had to climb the mountain of ascension, they've never had to go through this level of endurance sport to try to get back up to that wormhole and go through. And I say this because it's like, who is going to mentor you? someone who's never climbed a mountain and has never even had to have a body and know that food goes in here, or someone who knows. I joke about this, but I am uniquely qualified because I know food goes in here. All right. So I can mentor because I am here. And I mean this in all seriousness. Like, it would not be appropriate if I would just completely be in an ephemeral form and be like, I told you about that lady who waved her diamonds at me. Just ascend. Just ascend. You can't do that. You'd be like, Aurora, it's much harder than you think. And stop just waving your diamonds at me. I would be like, of course, that would be inappropriate. So I am here literally alongside you in solidarity and in mentorship to be able to show, yep, this is how you do it. This is how you actually get from levels of deep installation in materialism and density out of there and into the accelerated, truthful state of light speed and beyond. That is really where I emanate from. So don't mistake all extraterrestrials as ascended masters, because they don't all really count for that definition, and really only associate with higher dimensional beings who are made of pure love, because there's all sorts of different types of beings, and not all of them use love as their OS and as their fuel or petrol. So I do. I, as Aurora, my higher collective, and myself here, I am fully associated with love and have a love frequency and unique signature. So when you talk with someone who is not physical embodied being, what you want to do is make sure that they've got a unique soul signature, so you know who you're talking to, like who's on your caller ID, and make sure that they've got a loving signature. And if they don't have both of those two things, click, hang up the phone or slam the door in their effing face. Like, get out of here, slam the door. Because there's tons of exploiters, losers, parasites, and all sorts of nonsense, garbage, and crapola and maggots that you do not want to talk with or have come inside of you at all. And I will get to more of that later. You really want to make sure that you're talking only to genuine masters and allowing that true light to come inside of you. And it's been almost impossible since they turned on the millimeter wave and put up all of these satellites and sky junk and frequency garbage. Almost impossible to talk to the ascended masters right now. Please know that. So people might have done channelings and other things like that in the past 10 years. They might have had like a minor success rate or, you know, some truth and some garbage. But if it's from like the past 4 years or so, it's probably 100% garbage. And you got to be really, really selective. And you got to be really selective about your own inner dream state too, because the dreams have been garbage at night, garbage dumps, and almost no real connection to the sun and the stars. So you're in like a frequency dead zone where you're not really getting that real connection to pure light and pure consciousness. And there's tons of imposters. So don't be concerned if you're like, wow, like, does anybody have a soul signature? Does anybody have a love signature? You might not find that right now. We need to have a huge restorative victory for you to be able to even reconnect in that way. We're supposed to have unfettered communication. Right now, you have almost zero communication, and it would be considered a huge strategic victory to reestablish even 50% communication with your family of coherent light and the real ascended masters. So there was a time when death was not a possibility that anybody explored. There was a time when nobody ever went to this membrane over here. So that was before the Putis and before the invention of the experience of death. This existed as a peripheral possibility, but something that you never actually touched on, something that instead was only an abstraction, and you never actually felt it. And this is the world that we know here as ancient Atlantis, and mythological time, but it's really an otherworldly dimension and a concurrent time. And in that world, let me explain and describe the ways in which we experienced ascension. Because that's where I ascended from, and I am an experiencer and expert on this level. So first, let me do like a new whiteboard. So first, we'll draw. Let's draw Earth. This is the worst circle I've ever drawn. Oh my God. Can I try again? Sorry. I can't even. Okay. Oh, hooray. It's kind of a circle. All right. So there's Earth. And let's draw the sun over here. This is definitely a child's drawing. I love it. And now let's draw an inhabitant of Earth and what we did at that time in our lives. If there's a person who is here walking on the earth, your feet touch the ground and your head touches the sun, and there is like a battery connection between these two places. So here's the core of Earth, and here's the core of the sun, and these two places are totally connected. Wait, that didn't work. They're connected through the activity of the embodied human. Swirl, 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 and then connect up to here. That second connection didn't work. Can we do this better? Connect. Good. So you become a positive type of battery where every single step that you're making as you walk along during the day, you're like step, 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 becomes a connection to the earth and receiving energy from the earth, and becomes a feeling of orgasmic pleasure. And then you're also transmitting that signal and that experience in real time to the sun, and not only the sun, but let's draw all of the stars in the entire sky, because this is about becoming a network, being on the stellar network. So those don't look like stars, but let's just imagine that they do. Big, giant, connected network, kind of want to like scribble and go all the way around your whole entire galaxy and beyond. All right. So big, giant connected network. And everybody's finding out in that network of what it feels like to be you right here, having a life experience, being embodied, and even just taking steps with your feet, walking along. And as you go through your life experience, you are guided by the inner presence of the great teacher, which is Christ. So let's make just like kind of a blue dot over here. That's your Christ connection in your mind, and it guides you about where you're going to go and what you're going to be doing. But of course, the sun circulates around the planet and isn't always present. So when the sun is over here, you have to go into a restful dormancy state, which is not the same as the sleeping state that you have now, but it's just not the same as the psychically active state that we would have when we were awake and connected to the sun. But these are the key 3 stages, because at this stage, you're a battery and you're accreting light, but you can spend some time in dormancy. And what we'd have is like, imagine like, here's like a beautiful crystalline pool, and it's full of like, water that's been charged by the sun. And you would get into the pool, like, soak in the pool at night to absorb that energy during the time when the sun wasn't there. And then when the sun came back, you would, awaken again and get going on all of your psychic activities. All right. And you would do that for years, hundreds of years, or even millennia, a very long amount of time. And during that time, you would have all sorts of wonderful life experiences. In fact, let me read from what I say here. So I got that part. After hundreds or thousands of years of existence, learning many lessons and growing and refining who you are, always guided by the Christ center within and your strong connection to the divine guide at the crown. So I should also say that, like your crown is also, come on, something up here that is guiding you. Then you would have your individual ascension experience. Okay, so now let's draw the ascension mountain. Let's say, wait, we're going to erase your crystalline pool. We're going to draw the ascension mountain. So here's your ascension mountain. And what you would do is go through the process of perambulation. So remember, you ate light, so you don't have to pack like your canteen and your dried fruits and stuff like that to be able to survive this. You would simply begin walking around the mountain. It's perambulation, where you start to walk in this spiral pattern. And this process of walking, it could take years. And everybody watches you while you are circulating and while you're going through this process. And the process is an inner refinement process and also a physical acclimation process to be prepared to then never touch the ground again. So as I read from my notes over here, you go to the sacred mountain and you begin to walk around it and spiral upward. And everybody else can see this pilgrimage and you are cheered on by your lovers, friends, and family. So let's just, without having to do too much, because it's not that easy to draw, but let's just draw like some little like, these circles all represent faces. They're all of your friends and family. They're all watching you. They see you here as you're going, like here's your little legs. All right, it's just these people down here. They're all watching you. Big giant crowd that watches you while this is happening. And they're not just watching, but they are engaged with and celebrating what you're doing. And you also re-encounter many of the people that you interacted with in your life on your journey of ascending the mountain. So if I just erase a little bit, because you're not at the top of the mountain yet. So let's just erase a little bit. I erased the whole thing. Let's draw a little bit in there. Let's say, okay, you're going to go up this far. And then you're going to meet someone. And you're like, that's someone that you had some kind of a meaningful interaction with. You re-encounter many people. Each person has a life lesson to co-experience with you, okay? So this guy over here that you are re-encountering, he is not ascending yet, but you are ascending. And what happens is there's this beautiful retrospective. Your previous life interactions are remembered and their significance is explored. Some loving, some in friction or in conflict. And each time you learn how much of an impact you had on another person's journey, your face is quote unquote shot with light or filled with more and more divine intelligence as your true divine light body, face, and persona is built or revealed. So with each time, here I'll go back to my face, with each time that you meet or re-encounter someone from your past, they have been holding part of your light with them, your light, your data, your information. And you have this interaction that is also a quantum disentanglement where they send their light that was yours back to you. And when you receive that light back, you also get a huge amount of sense of the significance of why you interacted. And sometimes it was so loving. It was like, oh, like we were lovers and I love you and I love you and I kiss you and I smooch you and you're great. Now get up there and ascend. Some that's easy, right? And then you can see everyone's watching. Everyone can see. And the light comes back to you and your face gets brighter. All right, that's easy. But then there's other interactions where you might meet with someone who had more friction and that this is what it's like. You see them on your path and they're like this. And you're like, oh, it's you. And they're like, oh, it's you. They walk right up to you and it's, you had a really big impact on my life. So you said this, this, and this, and then you did this. And you're like, yeah. Then the guy says, and I learned and I grew a lot from those interactions. And light floods out of them and back to you. Because even though it was an uncomfortable or friction-filled interaction, it was necessary for both of you to learn and to grow on that level. And so there's different types of, floods of light coming back to you. So let's draw, I'm just choosing the right whiteboard to go back to that. So, come on, stupid thing. Come on, stupid thing. Just, can I have the pen? Can I please have the pen? Okay. So that was there. And then you get to circulate around a little bit more. And then you're going to meet the next person, the next person, the next person. You do this over a very, very long period of time. Okay. And then you finally get your light body because you're getting back all of this information from all of these people down here that you've been interacting with, your community members. And then you get to this spot over here where you are literally at the peak of the mountain and you have the perspective of being able to see and assess all of this stuff here, which is everything you've ever done in your hundreds or thousands of years of experience in the world. And at that point, you're really bright and you're really shiny. But at that point, you are disconnecting from the earth. Your feet are not on the earth anymore. And you are getting up to light speed, where you are getting ready to eat light directly from the sun. And then when that happens, you don't go back down. You become a part of what is essentially a floating city. So now I'm going to just draw like a purple scribble, but please think of it as the most beautiful, bejeweled, faceted complexity that it's possible to be a part of. It's not just a scribble. It looks amazing, all right? And this guy over here is going to start to be a part of this group of people over here, of people who have already ascended and they've already built their light bodies. These are all people in here and they're flying in formation, and they don't just fly in formation, like they also like they bounce, they jump, they lift, they twirl, they acrobat, they arabesque, they flip around and do all sorts of cool stuff. And this guy joins with these people. But when you do that, you never come back down. You do not go back down. Oops, wait, go back. You want to have the planet, but not the pathway. So we want that, but we don't want this. There we go. You do not go back down the mountain. And also, your nutritional needs and requirements for the sun and solar energy are 100% of the time. So you can't be like, oh, well, if the sun, circulates around to this area of the planet and I'm not able to access it, I'll just tread water for a little. You can't do that. You will fall and you will not be sustained. So what happens is this purple large city is constantly circulating around the planet following the sun. And the sun never sets for that city of light, and you become 100% in the city of light all the time. And that is directly analogous to what your mythology would call becoming the angel. All right. So wait, let's read along here so that I've got it right. Eventually you reach the pinnacle of the mountain, and your entire character or persona as a light being ascended master is built or accrued, and you're ready to make that leap into the next highest state of being, which is to become part of the floating city that travels in conjunction with the sun, never landing and always eating the pure intelligence of the light sun. At this point, you require and receive a strong and fast, steady stream of nutrition or input into the light of the sun. And you need a lot of it all the time to stay aloft. So you can't just like go to sleep for a little while. You are awake and engaged the whole entire time. Light's information and its data and it's organized and its intelligence. And that floating city becomes your coherent family of light, where you can float as an individual, but you also are augmented and amplified, just like at my Flying Rainbow Lasagna retreats. You are augmented and amplified by the activities of those around you. And everyone up there is a virtuoso. And what you're doing is like come together and clasp each other, then break apart and you fly away from each other. But then you clasp the next person. Then you do a twirl. Then you go in this direction. Then the next person catches you. Like it's the most amazing interactive ballet and profound trust exercise you could possibly imagine. And you sustain one another with these time acrobatics. You're also still connected to and caring about the planet and all the people who lived on the ground and who watched your ascension. That you're not like, see you suckers, I'm up here dancing in heaven and I don't care about you at all. Blah. You're like, wow, I'm up here dancing in heaven. And when I move my elbow like this, that translates to event structures that emanate outward into the lives of the people that are still on the ground. Recognize that you are dancing in time, just like Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and having a huge impact on the lives of people who aren't yet ascended or who aren't yet as evolved as you are. So you're totally affecting the course of events, your position in the sky, energy and causality percolating down as each acrobatic arabesque is achieved. And then that is the end of the journey. When the coherent light family, when that is, they're like a band, and when they get really tight, they practice a lot, they get themselves coordinated, right? Then they're a perfect harmonic whole. And then what they're able to do is to untether from the planet and go off on a longer journey, like a seed or a spore, positive spore of beings from this planet. So let's draw that. Just takes a minute for this thing to come up. Be patient. So these guys, here's these guys flying around and around and around. And what we're going to do is at a certain point, the band is tight. So we're going to erase this pathway. And we can erase this pathway, right? That got made it to that level of being. And now what happens is journey to the sun. Now this whole entire city can go into the sun through a solar portal and start to bounce and jump into all of these stars and bounce and jump around the whole entire galaxy. Here I am bouncing and jumping around the whole entire galaxy. That is what I am. This is Aurora, city of light. This is Aurora. And I have gone through the solar portal and I am a consciousness spark on this larger network, jumping around all of these different stars in a very organized pattern and with my coherent light family. And let me go back to my notes and just read this because it's just well written the way I have it said. The coherent light being ball of light still needs huge constant input of light from the stars to stay aloft and metabolize, but it is now free to move amongst the many stars on a network of consciousness, like a neural impulse going from star system to star system, going through sunbaths and solar portals, never losing true self, but always being cleansed by that which is not, cleansed of, always being cleared of that which is not true and eternal. So don't worry. If you work in the garden, you get dirty, you just take a sun bath and the dirt gets washed off, but the real you stays, all right? And this is what my Aurora collective of coherent light family is. We travel from star system to star system, and we're usually on a mission, which is purposeful, to fix and heal or to rebalance what needs to be improved, or sometimes to protect God and to protect time. So I do a lot of protection to reconcile or rectify things that are false, or I do a lot of cosmic law enforcement. I also have talked about myself as being a systems analyst, where sometimes I go into a place where there's an ongoing system. It could be a digital system or computer type of network, or it could be a consciousness system. And I do an assessment where I'm like, okay, let's look at this whole entire thing and look at the whole entire pattern. Let's see where the pattern is wrong. And then let's make, the assessment and give the assessment in. And then in almost every situation, the system or whatever is there is like, oh, well, look at that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll be sure to change that right away. Good job, everyone. But not this system. This system that I'm in right now is the only system that I've been in. I'm like, oh, well, I just did a nice big long assessment of everything that's wrong inside of you. Well, here's your assessment. And it was like this. Yeah, I do not like that at all. And threw it away. And I was like, oh, that's funny. You just threw away my assessment. Well, maybe you just need some help. I'll fix you for you. And I'm like, fix and reprogram, fix and reprogram. And it's like this. Oh, I do not like this at all. And it reverts back to being grotesquely malformed and very badly programmed. And then it's been a fight ever since then. That was kind of like 2021 or so. I think it was July 5th of 2021. Yeah, so since that moment, I've been like, whoa, like I'm not in a regular reality here because things don't act this way. But this thing acted this way and it's very, very bad. And very wrong and very uncomfortable to be around. So this is extraordinary circumstance, to say the least. But in general, the travel that I do as Aurora around the galaxy is very joyful, and we do it very creatively. And we use song and dance and pure artistry and all of our beautiful acrobatics and body movements. And that's also, we're powerful in terms of reality creation, because it's not always about going around fixing something that is wrong. Sometimes it is about singing and generating something beautiful into reality. And I best describe myself in that level of reality as a neural impulse in the mind of God. All right. So we attempt to be as accurate and as exemplary as we can of that larger level of excellence and loving divine intelligence. Let's talk about Christianity, Christ consciousness, and the Christian religion as it is known on Earth's surface, and the various different dogmas and I will be an equal opportunity offender. Let me first check questions and comments here. So we love the Jesus bumper sticker. We love that. We love that. Okay, so Aurelia says, I feel it's actually a focused superpower ADHD, just not focusing on the things other people want you to focus on. That is totally truthful. So in order to be authentic and, serve your community, you just have to find a way to monetize your obsessions. Truly, like if you're really good at whatever it is, finding patterns and then finding the non-patterns within patterns, someone is ready to pay you for that. And there's, it's definitely using it as a superpower. And Aurelia says, OMG, I'm drawing light ships have been for the past few months very encoded, so important they are not pushed onto. Exactly. It has to be consensual. It's like having a dog or having a horse, even though I know that sometimes people treat animals very cruelly, or a cat, but you have to develop a rapport and a relationship with them. You can't just walk right up to an animal and be like, hi, like I'm a human, you're a horse, I'd like to jump on top of your back now. You have to be like, hi, like I'm a human, like can I touch you? Do you want to sniff me? Like, can I touch your back? Can we do this? And same thing, like, my dog is very friendly at this point. We walk around town and she's learned how to be socialized and receive pets and hugs from different people, but that's after many years. And I think it's hugely presumptive. Like if you see a dog in public, you can't just presume like, oh, that dog was created for my personal edification, I'm allowed to just kiss it and hug it as much as I want to. Like, no, like you have to ask. So we also do a lot of like human public outreach when like little kids or whatever, if they're like cute dog, mommy, and they're going like this, I just like, wait, you have to learn, like you have to ask if you're allowed to touch the dog. And then sometimes the kids are so cute and they're so well trained, and they're like, your dog is so cute, can I please hug her? And I'd be like, yes, Cheeky's very friendly. And then here's the key thing, they ask, and then I always include a reward. You have to spell it COOKIE. There will always be a COOKIE involved for Cheeky to get something out of it, because otherwise she's like, no, I don't really like, little people and their little cookie hands, whatever, their little sticky hands touching me. And so we have to make sure that she is respected in what I do and how I bring her around for socializing. So that is very, very big stuff, in not presuming when you see a light ship, like you're like a little kid with sticky hands, and you're like, I like it, I want to touch it, I want to get on board. And like hopefully you learn like, well, first you have to like ask and then develop a relationship, and then hopefully demonstrate that you're friendly and appropriate and build trust, and then you can have an interaction in order to be a part of that. And that's also very big in who and what I am as Aurora. Very clear that my interactions with humanity are done in free will, and free will does not involve lying. So it would be very wrong if I was not authentic with you, if I was holding up a false mask and was like, I'm this type of an alien, or I'm this type of an alien. And then you were like, all right, Aurora, I think you're great, and I want to hop on board your alien spaceship. And then you find out like, this is totally different than what you told me. Like you lied about this and that. Like that would not be the beginning of a real relationship. That would be just a lot of lies and a lot of manipulation. So I've been honest with humanity for the past 20 years, even when it greatly inconvenienced me. Being authentic sometimes it's not convenient. I've always been very authentic about who I am and about what type of a light ship and coherent light family entity I am. And that is part of building a rapport, so that when people are interested in who I am, they're interested in the real me. And then hopefully people have gained trust from me in recognizing that I'm not interested in getting you on board with false pretenses. Like I'm not here trying to hunt or harvest you. I'm not here for energy harvesting. I'm not like, oh, my spaceship requires dilithium crystals to continue its space journey. I'd better go down to Earth and get some from those humans, or any kind of luring you on board, like I will entice them on board, then steal their eyeballs or their pineal glands, whatever, and, use that as my propulsion system to know that your gonads would be used as an alien propulsion system. Like I would never do that. That would be the worst thing in the world. And there are some species that would do that very happily. But no, I would only invite someone on board in total like honesty and authenticity and of their free will. There's only a very limited selection of people that would wish to invite on board. Landley says the brainwashing is real. I'm struggling hard listening to my girlfriends complain about their health choices, just going from doctor to doctor, prescribing them meds when I say drink more water, eat more veggies and fruits, and they completely ignore me. Girl, I hear ya. And then goes on to say, is there an implant to not recognize truth when you hear it? Oh, totally. Or does there have to be a strong willpower for truth and where you put your trust because there's obvious effort in trying to get better? I think there is totally an implant that makes people not recognize and embrace and listen to the truth. And I think it's one of the most challenging things because around here, like not only will they sometimes shoot the messenger, like, I don't like your message, kapow, like you're dead. But they will also sometimes be like, I invalidate your message. Your message isn't the truth. No fruits and vegetables for me. Doctors and pills for me, or whatever. They're not in many ways willing to hear the truth because it often means they have to take some level of personal responsibility. And personal responsibility is really not something to run away from. It is something to embrace and run to, because responsibility means empowerment. So these are the two sides of the same coin. On the one hand, responsibility, like, look at these dirty footprints all over my floor. Who is responsible? And you look down at your shoes and you're like, me, I did it. I'm responsible. But the other side of responsibility is, here's the mop. You're like, I did it. And I also have a tool for cleaning it up. And I'm going to do that too. And that is literally how you mature and accrete light. That is the story that I'm telling you about ancient Atlantis and the process of ascension and personal retrospective. You gain responsibility and empowerment from retrospecting your life. And it is one of the most powerful things you can do as a soul. And then you don't lose that information. You carry that with you as a defining aspect of who you are, even when you become an impulse of pure light. And you're generating reality structures, but just on a very, very different level of reality. And we would call that angelic. We would call the level of being a pure light impulse angelic, although it is not the same as angelic, the way that it's described in the human Bible and the whole hierarchy of angels, the way it's described in the Bible and all these different things and the concept of fallen angels. Like, I don't really endorse all of that. I don't really think that that fits with my cosmology, the way that I perceive it directly. It seems very distorted. But back to your question and sharing land, I do think that some people are running in the opposite direction of personal responsibility because they don't yet see it as the doorway to personal empowerment. But whenever I'm responsible for something, I'm like, hooray. Do you know why? Because I'm like, I know me and I have my SHIT together. And if this floor is dirty and it needs to be cleaned, I can do it. And it feels so much better to do that than to say, I don't like this dirty floor, and I wish somebody up there would mop the floor. And talking to the sky and shaking your fist and be like, do you think you can mop the floor, God? And why is like this? And why does life suck so hard? The truth is, like, there are things that are hugely out of balance in our world, but we must be empowered to clean it up. So I love it when things are my responsibility, or when I can expand my level of responsibility and define it as my responsibility, because I'm like, look, no one's cleaning up this floor. And no one's doing anything about it. I'm going to do something about it. And I like empowerment. And then you know what I'll do? I'll look for a mop. And maybe there is no mop. Like, you know something? I'm going to invent a mop because I would rather take responsibility and invent a mop than stand around looking at a dirty floor, or even worse, lifting my skirts and mincing around giant piles of doo-doo. It's like, don't step there. That's bad stuff there. Jump over that mud puddle there. That's not a way to live. And I would way rather clean it up. And this is literally what I'm doing in terms of cosmic infrastructure and malevolence in this world. We will talk all about DNA hijackers, but I am here in large part protecting this planet and fighting directly against them at all times of the day, because they represent the pollution of your world. And instead of standing around and waiting for someone else to come along and do it, or generally being dissatisfied at the dishevelment of your world, be like, do something about this, because this is not a way to live. Aurelius is totally working on this now, going through the wormhole. Always done, only my soul alignment, but just now decided to have the will to earn from that. Good. Because I can see how it sustains it better than I can from just energy alone. Yes, I think so. I think that that's a beautiful recognition on your part. Hold on one moment. We're going to do more questions and comments, but first, Princess Cheeky has awoken, and we need to have some hugs. Let's make sure we can take. Yeah, we can say Cheeky. Let's get some hugs. Wait. Cheeky, we always have to take a break for you. This is the best. This is Cheeky. You're amazing. You're a good dog. Good super dog. And I learned so much from you. You're a beautiful ascending master and angel and dog. Good dog. Good job. Everybody, does Cheeky need bribes? Bribes, Cheeky. Bribes, Cheeky. We've got some bribes for you over there. Princess Cheeky has her bed set up right in front of the air conditioning, so she's not hot. She's living a princess life. And then she's gonna get a snack over here. Let's give Cheeky a nice little snack. Oh, you're good dog. We love you. We love you. Good girl. And if you're wondering what this white thing is over here, it's actually a crystalline pad that's full of healing crystals, and Cheeky likes to sleep on it too. It's made by the same people that make this this pendant that I wear. Hold on, let's go grab Cheeky. Hold on. Thank you. So back to more questions. So Lan says, you said there are feeling rays sending feelings into our bodies. Are there any good feelings close to that heart feeling you said to discern real from fake feelings? Yes. So this is really good. How can you tell the truth between real love and fake love, which is kind of like fake bacon? Like when you smell artificial bacon seasoning or bacon bits or whatever, it can still make you salivate. Like, oh, I think that kind of is fooling my taste buds, but it's fake bacon. It's just 100% a chemical, right? So there is actually a hijacking that is happening between the level of the solar plexus and the level of the heart. So that's right here. And sometimes I feel manipulation at that level going up to here. And it's almost 100% when I'm like on social media and I'm either reading a story or something comes along that is like a supplication, like pray for so-and-so. So-and-so is in distress. Sometimes it's a person that I know, but sometimes it's just one of these generalized memes that goes around, kind of like harvesting prayerful energy. And then I feel energy going into my heart, but it's through this artificial spigot that it is like, now you will pray. And I can tell that it's 100% fabricated. And I do not allow my prayers to be harvested. And I say that, I'm like, I'm not a cow to be milked. I will not be milked for prayers. I will not do that. So the genuine love frequency is like an ache in your chest, a lump in your throat, and a little bit of happy tears that comes out of your eyes. All right. And also, I usually feel that feeling as like an activation in my heart, but I would say it's a higher sense in my chest, not a lower sense, kind of like around my midsection and my navel and my abdomen. So be observant, observe yourself, observe what it feels like to be emotionally manipulated by things that are not really serving your best interest. So these things at the bottom here, they contain those little sparks of false light that I jokingly call the pickles of the dead, as they are residual consciousnesses of unresolved dead things that are not good things. And those things love false prayers. And the Techno-Inquisition is designed to elicit false prayers. So the Techno-Inquisition is electrocution and electroceuticals or biochemical manipulation through non-local means with the intention of behavioral control and ascension diminishment and consciousness diminishment. And for the behavioral control, you will get sad zaps and you will get various forms of diseases and assaults on your cellular body when you're doing something bad and wrong. But you will get happy zaps and that false feeling of love when you're doing something right. And false astral Jesus controls those knobs, controls the Nintendo knobs of your emotions. And it is the definition of what it is to be emotionally manipulative or emotionally manipulated. So once again, Your true prayers should be spontaneous. They should not be elicited or milked from you. And the milking happens when you start to participate in the techno inquisition and you're like, oh, if I pray, it won't attack me. If I pray, this satanic, evil imposter that is using technology to try to access my biophotons will not attack me. And a lot of people participate, and it's become a whole religion that is based upon or grandfathered in from the distortion religion that is dogmatic Christianity, that is an outgrowth and a dishonor and a disservice to the original teacher who was here 2,000 years ago, who didn't teach any of the things that the dogma of the Christian church teaches about, but who was instead an amazing person, freedom fighter, an uplifter, a person who was fighting for your consciousness freedom and your ability to ascend and your ability to know your true self, as opposed to being enslaved and tortured in a paradigm of behavioral control. And that paradigm of behavioral control can be technological, but at times it has been emotional and social and cultural. So we actually live within the dream of Yeshua. Wait, I want to go to a whiteboard. If you read my notes, I would like you to just throw out the window all the stuff that I was talking about that is a bit influenced by the Da Vinci Code and the sense of, whether Jesus had a wife, Mary Magdalene, and all those types of things. It's not really that relevant to our conversation. This is the much deeper stuff. So I'm trying to draw a circle. Oh my God, guys. I have to pray that I can even just draw a circle. Good. Okay. This circle is supposed to represent the face of Jesus. Now I wanted to bring up like that fake religious icon when that lady restored the religious icon and destroyed it. Yes. So let's draw like, here's two eyes. This is gonna be so silly. Here's his nose and here's his mouth, right? This represents the actual person who lived 2,000 years ago. He was an avatar. It is avatar. It means one who has come across waters, a physical incarnation and a container for a cosmic level of consciousness that comes from, let's say, these boxes that I'm drawing are various different time places, organizations, organisms, otherworldly places, parallel dimensions, and it is the distillation of all of those viewpoints into one person. That is what makes this person an amazing person. And this person actually is still in the moment of their horrible, horrible, torturous death. Should take away the smile and make him very, very sad. Okay, so he's busy suffering on the cross, even while we are right now here doing this Zoom meeting. Because what has happened in that long, agonizing moment of his death, let's say this is like his mind, and we're going to just draw a big, giant bubble of his mind. And this is what is known as the year zero. That is there's BC, before Christ, and then AD, after death. So let's say this is the timeline that we're on. And here's the present moment now. So we'll just, I can't write with this, but we'll just try to write now. Now. Okay. That wasn't that hard now. And that is 100% the exploration of this person's internal state in that agonizing, long, drawn-out moment of their last moment in the physicality. He hasn't ascended yet. And then let's also draw this little bifurcation over here, this little aside over here, because this is Atlantis. And in Atlantis, you've also got a series of events going on where you have kind of like an endless moment where you're just about to ascend, but instead you get plunged down into the world of mortality. All right, so I'm on the verge of ascension. I'm almost ascending in Atlantis. And instead, you got invaded. And all these different things happened, including the birth of this guy over here. And then the torturous crucifixion of this guy over here. Sorry for being so blithely buoyant about it. And then in his tortured moment, this is the past 2,000 years of history. And that past 2,000 years of history are populated by, let's say, a variety of different types of inhabitants. Here, I'll just draw like little red dots, and these represent evil things. This is supposed to be like Torquemada, all right? Like here, we'll draw this little guy over here. He is Torquemada. He was one of the lead inquisitors in the Spanish Inquisition. And yes, it's true. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. That's from Monty Python. And I hope that you're laughing now. I tried. But let's pick a different color and let's draw some guys who are very nice and pretty, make them green. And then these are the good guys in green. And they're sprinkled throughout, okay? So inside of this mind of Jesus and the mind of Christ, there is an exploration. And let's also draw one other color. Let's just make it like neutral orange. Neutral orange, neutral, neutral, neutral. So you got all sorts of different characters in this passion play, which is the exemplification of the interior state of this person. Now, this person was an otherworldly visitor, similar to me, but he also had his own likes, dislikes, loves, proclivities, and inner tendencies. But like me, he came about in a cultural moment, came with his own baggage, but he is not evil. So we really have to make this distinction, and it's why I have to correct myself from any misinterpretations you might have in your notes. This evil Torquemada torturer guy is not a part of this guy's mind. Big, because you want to say, hey, wait, this is your dream, right? We're getting into a lucid dream as we relate again to the concept of continuity of consciousness. And you want to say, well, in a lucid dream, everybody inside of there is an emanation of your own mind, right? Wrong. Not everybody in this dream is an emanation of the true mind of Christ. Some of these guys are effing pathogens. Some of these guys are madmen, insane, violent, disturbed, and are full of hatred. And they are not an innate part of this guy over here. That's big stuff. So please discount the stuff that I was saying about Mary Magdalene, and please explore with me the validity of the concept that some pathogenesis and undesirable personality characteristics might have been grandfathered in from the outside external society, but do not arise internally from Christ himself. So in this graph, I would say these good guys represent Christ himself in the dream that he is experiencing of the past 2,000 years, but that this stuff represents pathogens who are invaders. There were invaders out here in the world that he lived in, and there are invaders in his dream. And that a big part of the ascension experience is creating boundaries, making a distinction and a choice. Here's boundary color between who is the real you and who is not the real you. Let's make a barrier here. That's not really you. In fact, that's actually pathogenic. In fact, I would say that's a tumor. We just built like a nice little encapsulation around a tumor of all of this diseased crap, including this guy who put himself forward as kind of a lead inquisitor to supposedly torture people so that they would become closer to God. That is crap. That is cancer. A cancerous proposal to even think that. So I don't want you to think when you look at the history of the past 2,000 years that that is 100% pure Yeshua or Joshua coming forward in the world. He is an amazing person. I love him. He's fantastic. He's not an ethic pathogen. The pathogens that are in this dream are things that were grandfathered in. And as I spoke about this, I talked about hijackers. Hijackers. Stuff that can't get to light speed, stuff that can't get back to God, stuff that can't get through the wormhole, stuff that can't rape its way on board to the higher dimensional VIP lounge. And instead is trying to hijack this guy's torturous death dream and be a part of reality. And where we are now here is the final wormhole, where we are all preparing to become ascended masters. And that means that we have to make a distinction within our cone-shaped vortex of which aspects are our true self that go up through the wormhole to infinity, and which is the stuff that I'm scribbling over here. That's the side dishes. That's not the real me, that's side dishes. And we are in this guy's dream. We are, you would say, figments of his dream. We are inhabitants of his dream. And we have an amalgamation inside of each one of us, some healthy green guys, some unhealthy pathogens. We got to clear out the trash. We got to clear out the pathogenic thought structures from ourselves and non-identify with those pathogenic thought structures so that we can go through the wormhole that is here and go to infinity, carrying along, let's just get that green color, only the happy green parts of ourselves come along with us. Only the true aspects of ourself really return to this infinity state of vastness. And then you know what happens to these pathogenic guys, to the tumorous doo-doo poo-poos over here? They go to entropy. They go to entropy, and that is my contribution of what I do with the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, that I energize positive, life-affirming, longevity-creating personality aspects, and I send to entropy the non-life-affirming, very perilous, very dangerous, incoherent personality aspects that cannot come with us into the next dimension. And these things here, it's not just that they're violent, it's that they're pathogenic. So you can be violent and be an ascended master and go up on this journey over here, but you can't be pathogenic violence, which is this guy that's saying like, yeah, I'm going to torture you to death for the glory of God. That's pathogenic violence. That is not okay. So let's say if you found someone who was raping an innocent child and you killed them, that would be this type of violence. Very positive, very much in divine alignment. But if you yourself were a perpetrator, violating the innocent, then you would be a part of this. Doo-doos, pathogens, tumorous cancers that need to go to entropy. So let's erase them out and let's send them to entropy. And when we erase out all the stuff that's not supposed to be there, then you're left only with the ascended masters and the ascended mastery. And this is called a refinery of consciousness. And this goes all the way back to, so this is us now, going all the way back through Jesus's dream. And his name wasn't Jesus, it was Yeshua, all the way back to ancient Atlantis. And he's there too, believe me, along with all of us. We are resolving ancient Atlantis right here in this moment now through the torturous last moments of this guy. And I just can't say enough how much this is an amazing person. A very loving, and that's why I speak about him in the present tense. I don't say he was an amazing person. He is an amazing person who is so loving, so committed and devoted to us, so really divinely perfect in who he is and in his example of cosmic law, so bright in his light and accuracy, filled with pure information and no bullshit, is amazing. The religion that has grown up around him is really destructive and largely unhealthy. And then the technological distortions that have used the flavor of the very distorted religion for the techno inquisition is a complete travesty. And it can make it difficult for people in this time and place to even accept and embrace the true man, the true teacher, the true Jesus, Yeshua person who is here, who is an avatar, who is a master, and who is a guide, is a lover to all of us. We literally live within him. Literally everything you have, like this dress, is actually made by him. It's part of his imagination mind. Everything that we have is his imagination mind. So you're going to say, well, how about like a bunch of diseases and pathogens and torquemadas? Are they his imagination mind? And the answer is no. The answer is all of the good stuff that sustains us and all the miracles that allow us to transcend evil come from him. And all of the stuff that's poop and pathogenic doesn't come from him. His grandfathered in. It came in as part of his dream. And we are acting as much as we can to send that stuff to entropy, clear up the muddy footprints, and make it so that we can all ascend. When we ascend all together at once. So that means everybody in ancient Atlantis is going to ascend. Atlantis was, again, on the verge of ascension. Like, this is me, like, I'm about to go across the threshold of the door. My foot is up. I'm about to go across. And all of a sudden, kapow, planetary invasion. A bunch of bad shit. I didn't ascend. I'm stuck in that moment of like, I'm about to do it. And then all of a sudden getting plunged into the world of mortality. So I didn't have that happen to me as Aurora. I was already an impulse on the network of stars. But you guys had this happen to you. You were about to ascend. And I'm like, hooray, I'm a network on the impulse of stars. And these guys are about to ascend in my old hometown, known as ancient Atlantis on Earth. And then invasion, planetary invasion, and a bunch of crackheads from Mars came and destroyed the genetic code and mushed you all up and violated you horribly and violated this whole entire planet. And I was like, this is not okay. And then this is now, like thousands of years later, when I see what was going on with this particular body, that was my opportunity to directly intervene and to come in and make a new pathway through the flying rainbow lasagna. But please contextualize this. When you ascend, it's everybody from ancient Atlantis, Jesus Christ, or the man that we know as Yeshua, who is in his torturous moment on the cross, and all of us. All of us who are ascending is me and you and Shiki and this beautiful fern that is here in my house, and your whatever, your pet turtle, birds that are outside, all those who have done the levels of self-cultivation in this world. So many plants and many animals, but not every organism that is here. And that's really essential for you to know, because now we have to get into a bunch of negative stuff. I know class is going long today. So this stuff didn't just invent itself. Those towers didn't just erect themselves, kids. Somebody with arms and legs made bad stuff happen here. And it's not okay. Getting myself a drink of water. Fortifying myself. This is Shasta water. Best water in the world. Mount Shasta is where we used to ascend from. If you ever go to Mount Shasta, there's a smaller cone-shaped mountain in front of the big mountain. That's where we used to ascend from. Pretty important special place. So I spoke about this last week. And I've been talking extensively about the pickles of the dead. This isn't just about tiny smart dust being sprayed from the sky. That was going on around 2014 or so. This is about what has happened since 2020, when the millimeter wave grid was fully deployed and activated. Those towers didn't just erect themselves. So it wasn't enough just to have the tiny smart dust trying to assemble in front of people. It had to be in the presence of this negative frequency force field. And the negative frequency force field is not just a telecommunications grid that was created for humans to use for their phones, for movies. You know this. I'm rolling my eyes for you, but you know that that is the ostensible why they made the 5G millimeter wave. Faster download speeds. But it was really to create an internet of bodies, which you are an unwilling participant upon. And who perpetrated this internet of bodies upon you? A bunch of people who have been power abusers in the power structure here that are really analogous to Torquemada. They're pretty bad people. They're very evil. And they erected the military grade frequency consciousness suppression network. They also have been enacting the various different subcutaneous cocktails that have been polluting people in the world. And once people are polluted, they then become smaller emitters of the millimeter wave. Tiny towers walking around in your neighborhood. Very, very bad stuff. And then those towers talk to the smart dust so that it will assemble into these fibrous networks of false light. The fibrous networks work as little worker bees, not the right word, worker army, in order to assemble these, which are a type of plastic crystal. plastic Jesus. Your true body of Christ is made out of true crystals. Here is a true crystal. It's like a fluorite or something like that. This is real. It's not plastic. I don't have a plastic crystal that I can hold up, but you know what plastic looks like. It's not real, and there's this qualitative difference of what it looks like and how light passes through it. These things, this lower word here is a plastic type of crystal that is made and formed by these army workers over here. And these guys go around your body scavenging for various different micronutrients. That could be magnesium, potassium, calcium, various different electrolytes, sulfur, selenium, and a bunch of other naturally occurring microminerals that are in your body, and also hijacking your electron transport chain. But what if you don't have the right thing? Like, there's no naturally occurring cadmium in your body. Thank God. It's a carcinogen, actually a red paint. So they're going to spray your neighborhood with cadmium, because the little stuff inside of you is like, well, I'm going to have to make some of these strange red crystals to embed on your skin. Where are we going to get the red pigment to be able to make these strange hexagonal crystals? I know, I'll breathe it in from some of these inexplicable aerosols from the sky. And then the aerosols make these various components available to the assembly workers, who then use it to create these little tiny false crystals in the body, which then send false light signals throughout the body. And the false light signals also carry and contain false light specks, is the best word I have of it. That's not real light at all, as I've been teaching you all about what it is to be an ascended master and receiving your light and being flooded with light and then eating pure light. All of that is real light. But what you've got coming inside of you right now is the residual consciousness, like spores of zombies. And when the zombies die, they don't get resolved. They just release all of their zombie grossness into a bunch of spores that then fly around as lights, looking for a body to inhabit. And they're trying to inhabit you, this infrastructure that has been built inside of you, and most importantly, to coat your DNA. So the DNA has its own natural self-protection and empowerment and proofreading capabilities. This is what I was talking about earlier in today's presentation. But the false light crapolas create a straitjacket around your DNA. So because your DNA is supposed to be expansive and it moves and it grooves and it does stuff, and it goes here and it goes there. And these false light things cluster around the DNA, and they create false infrastructure of like codons fitting together in weird ways that they would never naturally fit together, or they hamstring and limit full expression of DNA moving in the way that it would naturally move. And that's literally dead things trying to live inside of you and live through you. So now we have to talk about what's been going on. So that's the technological and more recent version of what's been going on. But this is something that's really pretty ancient, that's been going on for a long time from dark magic societies. That is the hijacking of the incarnational process. So I also have to speak very poorly of my own notes from many years ago, where I talk about the 17th Karmapa or Karmapa as this guy who's a good guy, who's got continuity of consciousness, passing himself from generation to generation 17 times. No, actually a lot of these monks, not good guys. So now we have to use a lot more distinction and discernment on this, that the religions of the Far East, so religions of Asia, did a lot of work in codifying the time between incarnations, and then being able to learn about where souls go. And that's good. You can learn a lot through observation and being able to track things over many generations. But then they didn't just do that. Then they also developed all of these dark magic techniques to be able to avoid responsibility and simply continue to incarnate as a hijacker or a ride-along, not as an actual focused embodied experiencer, but as something that is like a program running in the background. And as such, they do not take responsibility for what they have done. I love responsibility. I'm like, I love your responsibility. Let's be in a relationship together, and I'm going to build a mop and mop the floor, and I'm going to take empowerment along with responsibility. And these guys, their dark magic society, that's not only monks from Asia, but it's also all sorts of like Masons and dark magicians and all sorts of people that are trying to hack the system, and they're trying to live forever. This is before transhumanism, but they were trying to live forever. And I should have just said that this stuff is transhumanism. They were trying to live forever in a very unhealthy way, which has to do with sacrifice, taking people away from their true selves and inhabiting their bodies, and denying their true characteristics in favor of non-truthful characteristics, and then not taking responsibility for it. If that's what they want to do, they're like, I want to live forever. I want to eat steak in the Matrix. I want to have physical experiences and eat food and have sex and do stuff, but then I don't want to have to deal with the calories afterwards, or whatever, the diseases afterwards, or the anything that happens as a repercussion afterwards. If they just want to do stuff and not take responsibility for it. And that is the definition of cancerous behavior. That is the definition of what happens inside of people's bodies when you're really, really sick, and parts of your body say, I ain't working for you, I'm working for me. I do what I like, screw you. And these are actual impulses. If you could imagine, I'll draw it for you instead of imagining. It's just so much easier. Let's get a new whiteboard. DNA, all DNA is connected everywhere. Let's draw DNA through time. So let's get a color, and let's say this is DNA way back in ancient history, and DNA kind of like getting closer and closer and closer to where you are now. And then here's DNA in the moment now. All right, we'll even get like two colors. So you've got kind of that sense of like, you know, twisty windiness of two interactive things kind of winding together. All right. And then let's say this green blob over here, that this is a hijacker. That's not a natural characteristic for anybody who's naturally a part of your family. And what they have done is died, but did not reach their final life assessment, did not go into the next incarnation that they should be in according to what they would earn from their life experiences. And instead, they are bouncing down the time tunnels. So they then become an extra green line that comes all the way down until it gets to over here. And over here, they might even be impactful in your life. Like, let's say this guy over here really, really likes to, whatever, smoke tobacco. And then he's going to translate, he's going to be over here in your life here. And you're going to be like, I don't know why, but I just crave tobacco. I just have to smoke, even though I don't really want to. It's because you have a hijacker. Or what if this guy over here, what if he's got a thing for little children? Truly, this is a dark topic. I'm sorry if it's a trigger warning for anyone. But what if he is sexually attracted to tiny children? And then what if he's active over here in your body now? And he says, oh, I'm going to make you attracted to children too. And if you act upon it, then you will gain the debt in your soul. He's not going to get the debt. He's not going to take responsibility. And you can't say, it's not my fault. Like some weird interdimensional hijacker was acting through my DNA. And that's why I violated that child. Like, you can't do that. So this is deep stuff. This is the antithesis of how to live forever. This is the antithesis of what it is to be an ascended master. When you're an ascended master for real, you ascend and then you live forever, and you actually live as part of these time structures happily and harmonically on people's bodies. When you do this dark magic crapola stuff and then project yourself through time, it destabilizes time. It's an assault on time. It's an affront to God. And these are almost 100% negative personality characteristics. So I brought up tobacco as an addiction, and I also brought up, violation, sexual violation of children, to both negative personality characteristics. And you can pretty much name all of the other negative personality characteristics and know that they come from this dark society that has been projecting itself through time, even before the invention of transhumanism, in a bid for what would be considered a very, very wanky and disappointing form of eternal life. It's not eternal life. And more to the point, it's not even, it's extended life, but not going to be eternal, because they are messing up the fabric of space-time so much, they're not going to have time. If they kept on doing what they did, and we don't stop them, you will not have time space. you will have such an effed up fabric of time that it will not be available to be their little playground anymore. And also those same guys, like, got meditators and, people from monks and monasteries, dark magic and stuff like that. And we've also got intelligence agents and people that are part of what we would call like 12D society. Like when you think you're channeling blah, 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 some of the time, you're really talking to the most corrupt, evil things in the sandbox. Sandbox being like the playground. They have turned DNA into their personal playground, and they're at the pinnacle of corruption within the sandbox, and they call themselves a time society, but they are not Time Lords. They are not Doctor Who. They do not fly around in the magical TARDIS spaceship, transforming time and healing events in life. They're the opposite. They travel around effing up events in life. And if you F up enough events, you don't get to have life anymore. And that we are perilously close to that circumstance. That's how bad it is. When you go through your day and you're like brushing your teeth, driving your car, doing all these mundane things, you're like, we're teetering on the edge of oblivion. I got to put some gas in the car. Like, this is not okay. Have to do something about it. Cannot be normalized or ignored. Elmer says, what are the instances where people are most vulnerable to negative influences or implantations? That's a big question because there's so many aspects that become negative influences or implantations. Like sometimes it's from your biological family. Sometimes it's from your culture. Certain drugs just totally make holes in people's etheric field and open themselves up to these influences. And those drugs include methamphetamine, but that's also known as Adderall, which is a legal prescription. So you don't just have illegal meth addicts that are opening themselves up to these types of negative hijackers going through their DNA. You also get people who go to genuine psychiatrists and have been given Adderall as a conscious enhancement drug from the time that they were like a little kid. And then they stay on it in adulthood too, so they can like function in the world. That means they have like no barrier. They have no shielding from all of these negative entities. And sometimes negative entities are like purely demonic and very overtly evil. And sometimes they are formerly human and they have lost their soul. Because when you reject responsibility, you lose your soul. And so they're like, no, I don't want to take responsibility for all the horrible things that I've ever done. Shifty eye, I'll jump into you. Okay, great. And then like, I'm not here, shifty eye, I'm not making that happen. Yeah, no, it's you. You're doing it. You're the inhabitor. So it's 100% slimy, greasy, very unpleasant form of consciousness and responsibility evasion. So certain drugs really open people up to it. Certain organizations open people up to it. Joining the military opens people up to implantation. Yeah, joining the intelligence agencies opens people up to implantations. In fact, that is what the intelligence agencies are. They are an implantation factory. They take people who are, humans with some viable life, and they absolutely train them to be portals for negative entities to act through them. And the training is incremental at getting people to be less human, have them less responsive to their soul and to their responsibility, and to abdicate their soul more and more in terms of forming more violences ostensibly for the nation state, and then to finally torture and murder until finally they lose all of their humanity and they're fully inhabited by false light beings. And then there's zero human left. They're 100% inundated by the pickles of the dead, and there is no human there anymore. So intelligence agencies, the mafia, there's really very little difference between these two things. And intelligence agencies, they'll start off and they'll be like, well, we just need you to look at these incidences of underage pornography on the internet. And sorry, it's your job, and it's going to be very distressing to see it all, but you're going to have to be strong and do it. And then they do it, and then they're essentially participating in a dark ritual. And every time they do that, it erodes them more and more. They're like, but it's my job, I have to do it. And then they make more and more compromises, and then they lose themselves more and more. And it's a slippery slope, and they're asked to lie for their administrations, and they find out who's really even running the administrations. It's all demons or negative extraterrestrials and extradimensionals. And then by the time it's a career and they're in so deep and they're like recognizing that they've been pretty much groomed for the position of demonhood for their whole entire life. And there's like the mafia does something very similar. And like, yeah, be at first just like go punch that guy in the face, but then like break that guy's legs, but then like shoot that guy, but then shoot that guy and dismember his corpse, and then do this and this. It gets worse and worse is what I'm trying to say. And then by the time you do that, because it just started off with punching some guy in the face, but it's a slippery slope that behaviorally brings them further and further away from themselves, their soul, and key point, responsibility. And then by the time they get to the point of being a psychopathic murderer, they're like, oh, I don't want to have to face the music. I don't want to have to explain to God or Christ what I've been doing and why I did all these bad, naughty things. I'm going to shifty eye, jump into somebody's body. And they participate in these dark rituals. That then means when they die, they don't really die. They just go into someone's body. And then it becomes a game. They become totally sociopathically disassociated from the consequences of their actions. And they just want to see how long they can keep themselves bouncing forward through time. They do not care whether they kill or destroy or F up you or your life or your community or your entire world or the fabric of time space itself. It is the definition of insanity. It is the definition of pathogenesis. And it is also the definition of cancer. They're acting as cancers. And I said this before and I'll say it again. Nobody has a funeral for cancer. When you have cancer in your body and when you destroy it and your body, vanquishes it and dissolves it, gets rid of it, you're like, hooray! Get dead cancer cells. Get out of here, dead cancer cells. I don't want you. So please, when these things are destroyed, nobody has a funeral for them. No one is like, oh, very, very sad to see and report upon the passing of blah, blah, tumorous pathogen that is no longer here in your world. You are like, oh, like, thank God that tumorous pathogen is no longer here trying to inhabit people. And what we are doing in this generation is ending all of their dark magic that passes things on to the next generation without having it be resolved. And when we do that, we ascend. And when we do that, we get Jesus off the cross. When we do that, get our entire world from ancient concurrent Atlantis into ascension. And that was a great question, Elmer. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here in class. Aurelia says, OMG, that is exactly what I'm doing, monetizing my obsessions. Good, you seem to be doing well. She says, I'm obsessed with arranging patterns and putting some same colors together. That's it. I'm telling you, whatever are your neurotypical, non-neurotypical proclivities and obsessions, somebody out there needs those gifts. I'm telling you, and you turn it into something that is a viable way of serving the community. And this is very big because it means you don't have to like amputate your true personality in order to be able to participate in the world and earn money. You can earn money by being the complete unique person who you are with all of your unique talents and skills. Pedro's got a question about the infrared light. It says, I found 150 watt and 250 watt. Which one do you use and how close do you use it? Can I put it instead of the light bulb when I sleep? I don't know how much the wattage is. I know that it is a chicken light. So I got what is essentially a very large red light bulb. And the key point is that it does get very hot, uses a lot of electricity, and is a bit dangerous. You don't want it to burn anything around it. So you have to make sure that you put it into, it's got a ceramic base and a metal reflector, and I have it on a metal tripod. And then you want to put a sandbag or a weight on your tripod so it doesn't fall over. And then I keep it about this far away from me or sometimes further away. And it depends, like in the wintertime, I don't mind if it's right on top of me and I feel nice and toasty. But right now it's summertime and it doesn't feel that great to be just totally like rotisserie chicken baked in front of it. But I usually have a fan going. So I have like, the light is a certain amount of distance from me, and then I've got a fan going on me from the other side. And yeah, you probably just don't want to get like super hot on a summer's day, but I keep it on, and I keep it on even in the summertime with the heat difficulties because I sleep a lot better when I have that thing on. I feel like much less garbage dumps, nighttime garbage dumps, and I don't have to wake up and clear out my psychic debris like with a giant snow shovel, like clear out the debris before I can start my day. Yeah. Marie is making a beautiful joke about Cheeky, whatever we were doing a little while ago. She's like, Cheeky said, not gophers, LOL. I know Cheeky's a very, very fantastic, highly trained gopher specialist. She's very good at what she does. I really is agreeing. Yes. Michael, thank you for being here. Says, hi, Aurora. I just booked a one-on-one with you. Looking forward to it. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it too. And that's actually a great joy that I have figured out ways of being able to use these crystals to remove this type of stuff from me, and then also figured out when I do it for me, then I always figure out how to do it for other people too. And then to be able to do it for other people. And like I said, it's usually not a permanent mopping of the floor, but I can help people to get breathing space and then also go into DNA empowerment to get that proofreading activity and self-protection going in people. So I'm very pleased to do that. So I look forward to being able to help you and work with you. Thank you very much for connecting with me. And Len says, I almost set my pillow on fire in the winter by putting my chicken light by it. Okay, so everyone, like, use that as a cautionary tale. Do not set bedroom on fire. We want to be warm, but not that toasty warm. And also, like, Cheeky likes the red light, but I'm very cautious of her. I don't want her to get burned by it. So I make sure that she doesn't get too close. So protect your pets, protect your children, protect your bedding and everything else, because it is a genuine fire hazard. And release this breathing space for our superpowers. Exactly. That's everything about what I'm trying to do, is to bring up the empowerment for each person. So that's my motivation, helping people and kind of getting you like established in your own integrity, and then being you're able to then move forward with that momentum and keep going. Even though I always continue to offer energetic support. Pedro says, love the lasagna. Thank you so much. So I'm going to check my notes super fast. I might read one last little thing, and I'm open to more questions or comments. I know class has been a little bit long for today. But I'm clearly this is what I want to talk about. In my notes, I'm very critical of the Christian church, but I want to talk about the relationship between the brow chakra and the crown chakra. That I talk about these as being a marriage and a partnership, and they're absolutely essential in terms of balancing out these features of your higher faculties. The ability to see and to direct energy and to know on the insight level, but also the guidance from higher intelligence about where to spend your energy, what to look at, how to engage with the world, what to manifest. So in this system of the chakras, this is male and this is female. But when I first wrote about this, I was so innocent and I didn't even really know about people's relationships, that I'm just like, oh yeah, because this is what it's like where I'm from. I didn't know that you guys fight. I didn't know that you guys fight in marriage and partnership, because where I come from, this is the ultimate authority, and it's female, and is saying to this male aspect of self, you need to go over here and you need to build and direct your energy here. And there's no questions or negotiations. It's just a very simple directive. And there's no power dynamics either. But here in marriage and partnership, I've learned there's tons of levels of power dynamics, where sometimes the wife says, I need you to build this thing for the garden, like build a container for the garden. And the husband is like this, you want me to build a container for the garden, and it's so much, and I'm fighting with you all the time, and then you want me to clean the dishes, and you want me to do this, you want me to do that, and it's a big, huge thing. And then it's a big, huge thing of like, who's in charge of this relationship? Who wears the pants in this family? Who am I to you? Who are you to me? All that. And I'm just like, that is not how they do things where I come from. Here's how they do it when I come from. We have to achieve this objective goal. We will need to hold soil into a square in the garden so that the water doesn't erode the soil. And we need to grow our food. And you need to be able to make 90-degree angles to create this. Please do that now. And there would be no fighting. There would be no dynamics. There's like, oh yeah, that is an important project. And it has to do with our direct survival needs. I have the materials and the strength to do this. I will do it for you. That's it. So now, I don't know if you guys know, this particular cartoonist, Nathan Pyle, he creates a lot of things that are like the extraterrestrial viewpoint, where they're just like what I'm talking about. They're just like, oh, it is time to prepare nourishment now. Please prepare, whatever nourishment for me. And then we will sit and eat it together. It's like, yes, it is nourishment time. Let's do that. We both need to eat. So there's not this question from the higher dimensional level of social dynamics, whose woman's place is to cook, the man's place, and don't tell me what to do, and all those things. It's like, we have a common goal and we need to accomplish this now. And that's it. And there's really no friction about any of this. And then, of course, I had to learn, like, oh, in human relationships and male-female dynamics here, there's a ton of friction. And there's a ton of attitude from both sides. And people are generally not integrating very well in a partnership at all. I have to find a different analogy to be able to even explain this to you. Because when you talk about marriage and commitment and partnership, people still think that means like a lot of fighting. But with this and this, there is not fighting. You're not going to fight with yourself over what is best. And this part of yourself is connected directly to God. So that's why this part of yourself doesn't have a big attitude against this part of yourself. Like if this part of yourself is like, hey, you need to look over here and learn from this over here. This part of yourself is not like, who do you think you are? Tell me what to do. This part is like, I think that I am your divine connection, talking to God and telling you that you need to look over here. You don't have to have attitude with me, right? That is what I would do if someone came at me with that attitude. But in your own body, in your own chakra system, there should not be that level of friction and dynamics. In fact, here's the definition of roles that are supposed to be played. This aspect of your body, which is Christ and Christ consciousness, is supposed to be the divine protector for this very sensitive aspect of your anatomy. This is supposed to be like the protective eyelid that covers the cornea, the sensitive apparatus up here. This is supposed to be right here, strong, structural or formal, even violent if necessary. It's protectionism, and proactive, not merely reactive. And it is supposed to be like a safety enclosure for the sensitivity of the compass needle that connects you to the divine, so that that compass needle can sense like, should I flow over here, or should I flow over here, or where should I be? So Christ is supposed to create a protective enclosure within which your crown can be free to be sensitive and sense presence of the divine, and then communicate that presence of the divine to the protective force field of Christ. We have had so much of a disconnect and a breakdown of that in our basic anatomy and architecture that it is actually painful to talk about. And the events that I've had in my own life since 2021, I was not protected as I should have been. And I represent that very finely attuned compass needle, where it's my job to be a visionary artist, to connect to the divine, to get those signals, and then to be able to disseminate that information to the people around me. And instead, what happened was I was very much directly attacked by evil. And the Christ network and my own Christ anatomy did not protect me from it. And that is very, very painful, bad, and wrong, and not good at all. And so then what ended up happening was I, as this very sensitive apparatus, had to grow a lot of muscles and learn how to fight. These guys here are supposed to be the fighters. They're supposed to be like the, what would I say, like the bouncers at the club, so that way you can be like, like the little like lady and not have to worry about fighting and breaking a nail or whatever, ruining your makeup. they're supposed to fight, and then you're free to be who you are. And there were no bouncers at the club. There was no security. And this is me in my little ascension, gown. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to fight. And I did. This is what happened. This is the literal story of my life. That they attacked me horribly. I was not protected. I do not know how to comprehend the breakdown of responsibility in that situation. But in the end, I simply had to come to a level of practicality where I'm like, oh, I will learn to protect myself. And that is what I did. And you know what? I ruined my manicure, and I learned how to really kick ass really hard. And I grew a lot of muscles, both literal muscles of my body and figurative muscles in my spirituality. And so now I go around protecting this whole entire planet. Because I'm like, oh, if there's a muddy floor and no one else is going to clean it up, I will clean it up. And if there's not a mop, I will invent one. And so I've had to do that. I've had to literally invent and innovate ways to be able to fight against effectively and destroy this stuff, which has been assaulting the pineal gland and the Christ consciousness network. But if they're like, hey, sorry, kid, I'd love to help you, but I'm busy being assaulted here and I can't help you. And I know you're just wearing your little ascension gown. You didn't exactly come prepared to battle, but you're going to have to fight. Then I'm like, oh, okay, well, no, I did not dress for battle. I actually dressed for ascension. But if this is going to turn into a melee, I will fight. And I have become actually one of the most effective fighters that it's possible to be. But this is not necessarily my true personality. So I really, truly look forward to the time when I can return to my true personality and not have to always be scrubbing the floor or fighting against profound forces of evil at all times. But because it's been such an unfair, unjust, and really inexplicably inconceivable situation, I have had to and transform and augment and become a lot stronger into this way. But I will tell you that I greatly enjoyed and look forward to a return to my life where I am primarily an artist and a musician and a teacher, and that is my muscles are used for dance and for self-expression, and my muscles of my spirituality and my body are not always used in this type of just gladiatorial combat. So I look forward to the day when I be a gladiator anymore and I can be an artist and musician again. Thank you. And I'm like, ascension curtsy. Lan says, in your last video, you said it can take a walk-in 30 years to fully embody a body. Is the same true for most of us? Is it just the brain that needs to mature, or the soul embodiment also delayed for various reasons? When you're born into your body, I think the integration process is a lot easier than when you're a walk-in. And when I walked into this body, there was a lot of neurological disruption and debris and a lot of things that prevented me from fully being here. So the real answer is, it depends on the type of walk-in. Like if you're a walk-in who comes into a really damaged body that's pretty much dead, it's going to take you longer to integrate than if you're a walk-in that comes into a pretty healthy body. All right. And if you're a regular soul that's coming into a body that you're born into, it can still take you time to integrate into your body, but it's usually done in early childhood. So usually by the time you're 10 years old, you're like in your body. And that means that you like feel your posture and you feel the bottoms of your feet when you walk, you feel your balance, and you've mastered your coordination. And most kids are pretty good at like learning to ride their bikes or roller skate or stuff like that, like all of these body-oriented things. But it's also very difficult to tell because in this time that we're in right now, children are inundated by this stuff. And I know kindergartners who have that stuff inside of their bodies. And it makes it very, very difficult for them to even grow their own healthy ego while they are being assaulted by nonsense signals and invasive mind states. They don't really even get a chance to be their true self before they get taken over. And it's a very, very sad situation. So the answer to that, Lanley, is I don't know how long it takes for people to really master their bodies, but just begin. Now is the perfect time, place to begin. And don't take anything for granted. So even if you're in your 20s or your 30s, you can't just be like, oh, sure, I've mastered my body. You might really want to do a series of exercises that are about like how to integrate into your body. Or if you think like, oh, like I know how to exercise, like you lift the weights like this and you lift the weights like this. But what the real way to exercise is through like very, very slow, controlled movements where you're really feeling every single muscle, or where when you're dancing and you're really like, I am feeling every single muscle and absolutely engaging intentionally with all of my body parts. So it depends. Some people are really disassociated from their bodies, and sometimes people reach adulthood and they still haven't mastered some of these things. So just start from the beginning and begin with some kind of practice. And the practice could be something like yoga or stretching or martial arts or Pilates or something that brings you into awareness of your body and your posture. Like, how do you stand throughout the day? How are you typing on the computer? How do different feeling states show up in your posture? And you begin to watch yourself and learn about yourself. And that it's a huge empowerment. It's actually really wonderful and fun. So yeah, I would encourage people to form some kind of communication connection with their body, and that even is body talk. Like if your elbow is hurting you, you have to ask yourself and be like, okay, elbow, like tell me what's going on. Like, why are you feeling this way? Or your tummy is hurting. Be like, why are you feeling that way right now? Tell me what's going on in the body. And then hopefully your body will communicate too. So establishing a direct rapport with your body, it can take decades. It can take a long time. Mary says, I am there with you, Aurora, from being an artist learning martial arts. Totally, totally. You get it. And like, I don't want to complain because responsibility and empowerment are great, but I'll also tell you that, you know, I identify and who I truly am as Aurora, an impulse in the mind of God. And most of my assignments have been about uplifting the world through art and music and beauty and dance, literally like waveform dances, and also through mathematical excellence. And direct hand-to-hand combat is like way down low on the priorities of how I usually act in the world. But you're in a war right now. And in a war, I'm here and have chosen to be here to protect this planet. So if I have to do hand-to-hand combat or psychic warfare, I do it. And actually, I do a lot of work with Alibar Jones, and a lot of my work is about psychic combat, doing that. And I'm unapologetic about it. And I use violence in a very righteous way. And I have a big value system about how I do it and when and under what circumstances. I have zero qualms. I want to say 0 Fs are given, is what I'm trying to say, but without being inappropriate if young people are watching. But yes, 0 Fs are given. And that doesn't mean that I go around attacking the innocent. Far from it. I protect the innocent. I don't know why cosmic law enforcement has not been more active on this planet, but I go around protecting the innocent because I'm like, this is a load, a stinking, fermenting load of manure, and that is not acceptable to me at all. And I'm not going to just let it fester in people's minds. So I do a lot now. And also when I first came here, I was so pinkies up. And I was like, free will. And you do what you want to do, and you do you, and I do me. But when people started to throw their garbage into my mind, I was like, oh, all bets are off. And you may F off now because I have boundaries. You're not allowed to do that. So yeah, I've totally changed and shifted my whole entire paradigm at being here. I expected to be much more protected than I was. Now I am the brute squad, and I am at peace with that. And also I am ordained and mandated to enforce cosmic law and even to reach into people's minds when they are pathogenic and when they are harmful, to stop them from doing what would be harming me and many, many others. So yeah, I am ordained now to reach into people's minds when, you know, I used to not do stuff like that because they'd be like, oh no, hands off, like your mind is your own and I'm this and that. And I have lots of big integrity and values. I still have integrity and values, but you're in a war. And in a war, like you have to totally recalibrate all of your behavior. You can't just be like, oh, like, sorry, I'd love to help you while these horrible orcs are attacking your mind. I can't. I'm just gonna let this happen. I can't. That would be the worst, you know, like whatever frippery, the worst, whatever, low muscle tone, low levels of caring. What I didn't communicate enough to you in Ascension, you know, when you jump off the surface of your planet and you become part of this city of light and then you go elsewhere, you still care about the place that you came from. And if it got invaded by horrible orcs or poops and doo-doos or whatever, you would not just be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so happy flying around interdimensionally. I can't possibly care about what's happening in my old neighborhood. No, you'd be like, I am horrified That is unacceptable. And I'm going to do something immediately to stop this injustice and to stop it from going any further. And I can't be indifferent to this level of horrific crime that is happening in my former neighborhood. Aurelia says it's so hard to, for sure, to integrate with the body. You're creating if you guys don't know, she's also a walk-in, and says if there are warrior poets, be a warrior dancer, Aurora. Thank you very much, Pedro. That is how I would like to think of myself. I am a warrior dancer, because even when I'm doing these different warlike actions, everything is very graceful. And so I absolutely love it. Like, you guys, I don't know if you would ever see it, but maybe one day you'll see it. But like, I'm doing the lasagna, I'm doing these very complex mathematical patterns. And I'm also like, kick ass, get this thing out of here, get this thing out of here. And now beautiful patterns, beautiful dancing, and now more kicking of ass, kicking ass, clearing out, taking out trash. So yeah, I have to combine the two things that I am doing, because I can't let them kill me by taking away my artistry from me. I have to dance. So I'm like going across the battlefield and dancing, avoiding hand grenades, lobbing hand grenades myself, twirling, and then doing my dance. Very, very complex. And sometimes it's social. Sometimes it's fighting against this stuff and fighting against evil and doing that in a very graceful and mathematical way, but sometimes it's social. So one recent experience was social friction in the apartment building where I live, where there was a complaint lodged that was against me because of my music, because I was dancing outside. And that was considered to be, disruptive or socially inappropriate. And so, I switched to wearing headphones for all of my music, but I did not stop dancing. And then this is me, like, kind of like in the community space of the courtyard of my apartment building here, where I'm not just walking my dog. I'm dancing through the courtyard and swirling, because I'm like, you're not going to stop me from dancing. Like that was a shot across the bow as far as I'm concerned. And no, we're going to fight against that, but we're going to fight with dance. And so, yeah, I did that for several weeks. I didn't just walk my dog, but I would be like playing through the courtyard with my dog. So, do something similar like that in your own lives, guys. Combine your artistry with your protective qualities or your assertive and aggressive qualities. And Aurelia says, my body, I walked into head almost completely shut down for 4 days. That's a lot. And she says, I think the key is good people around like you definitely speeds it up to show the ropes. Good. I am very happy to mentor other people, and especially other walk-ins, as to how to integrate into your physical cellular body, and then also how to integrate with human society and in your community, because you come here with gifts, how to share those gifts with the world. And also, you might not necessarily be like ego assertive. In this world, most of the people who are born here are ego assertive, where they're like, I'm so great. I'm in charge of everyone. Everybody listen to me. I'm allowed to be here. But walk-ins are a little bit more like I'm kind of new here. Am I allowed to do this? And am I allowed to be here? And might need a little bit more encouragement of, owning their space and owning their body, and, the posture of being fully in your body. I know this isn't Aurora stories, but let me just tell a funny story. So this is like 10 years ago or a long time ago. And I was at Trader Joe's where you buy the coffee in bulk, and they have the coffee grinding machine there. And I took my bowl of coffee and I put it into the machine. I pressed the button and it went brr, and then it stopped. And I was like, oh my God, I broke the machine. I broke the machine. I broke the machine. What am I going to do? And I went up to one of the people that works there. And I was like, my posture was all down. It's like, I'm so sorry. I think I broke your machine. And I didn't say it, but I'm a galactic walk, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't really know how to grind my coffee. And I think I did a really, really bad thing right now. And she was like, let's go. This is her being normal. She's like, let's go look at things, okay? And we go over there, and she's like, oh, no, this is a simple fix. Like, it's just the safety catch over here. You just need to press this button. And she pressed the button, and it went brrr, and everything was fine. And she just looked at me, and she said this. She didn't hold my hand, but she was like this. She was like, you don't have to worry about things so much. You're really okay. And I was like, okay. So she had a positive impact on me. She gave me a little bit of validation. She was like, you don't have to worry about things so much. You're really doing okay. And I have internalized that and kept that for my mantra for any kind of challenging situation. I'm like, put your shoulders back. You're okay. You're allowed to grind your coffee here. You're not doing anything wrong. Thank you. Thank you for loving and enjoying my Aurora stories. I know. Yes. So now not only do I grind my coffee, but I'm a planetary protector protecting the entire planet. It's wonderful. So I appreciate that. It's time for me to wrap it up because I think I need to take someone with 4 legs for WALK. We don't have to spell it out. We can say, I think it's Walkie's time. So if there's any more questions or and I wanted to make sure I got to all the important stuff in my notes. You know me because I'm very circular. Yes. So not wanting to have a conflict of desires or an ego contest between your Christ self and your crown self, and really to integrate those 2 aspects of self, and that would be considered your divine masculine and divine feminine inside. But it's a big topic and it's very fraught, and there's lots of things. People need to grow a lot in terms of their comprehension of what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman, and how to integrate in a healthy and effective way with all of these unique characteristics that you have. So that's where I'll just leave it at that. But in your own body, regardless of the allegories of external human social dynamics, you must have a partnership between this and this. Partnership. No fighting. Marriage and partnership are not about fighting. They're about integrating together. And the truth is that marriage and partnership are really about creating new life. And this are about birthing new realities. So it's not necessarily about creating a tiny new human infant, but it is about creating a new world, a new reality. And I'll end on this, going to the whiteboard that I was talking about with this over here. Where's that one? This one. I hope I'm choosing the right one. Yes, creating a new reality. Wait, it's waiting for the thing. This. Let's just choose a color. This is the new reality that we are giving birth to. We're getting rid of all the pathogenic doo-doos, and we are giving birth to a new reality through the combination of the brow chakra here and the crown chakra here. And that combination of those 2 chakras is really, let's end by doing this. Let's make this guy happy. When we combine those 2 aspects of self, then there's no more torture of Christ on the cross. Then what we actually have is an integrated mind state of pure insight and direct connection to divinity, giving birth to a completely new level of reality, and torture ends. So I think that's actually the best conclusion that I can end upon. So I'll thank you again to everybody, because I know my classes are long. Someone once remarked upon it. 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours. Thank you for being with me for 3 hours. Thank you to everybody who is able to be here live in person, and to the wonderful comments and contributions that people make through their sharing, and we all grow through that sharing. But then also thank you so much, because there's a very consistent several hundred people, like maybe 300 or 400 people, who almost always tune in for the archive afterwards. And I greatly appreciate that you tune in as well. And I thank you for people who spend the amount of time and attention that they do on these videos. I hope that you can really sense from me, I put a lot of effort and preparation into it, and a lot of artistry and intention into choosing the right words, and also how I draw my pictures. So I did my sun gazing this morning, and I got a lot of these pictures in my mind where I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to teach them about this, and I'm going to have to draw this like this, and I'm going to have to draw this like this. So this is it's an important part of my own self-expression and connection to the sun. And I thank you for tuning in and being receptive to my ideas, and for the beautiful validation and encouragement that you send towards me. So thank you very much. And I say it and I truly mean it. I feel like I'm connected to the very best people in the world through these classes that I do, through my retreats, through my Tuesday morning dance class, through this class, and also some of the people that I connect with on social media. I feel very blessed that I am connected to people who have wonderful integrity, who are warriors of consciousness, who would never sell out or sell themselves like a prostitute to this type of AI stuff. They don't want to eat steak in the matrix, who have excellent intelligence and their minds and quality of their thoughts, ask wonderful questions, and who are, again, receptive to receiving my gifts, and then send back so much beautiful love and friendship and camaraderie towards me, because that definitely helps me to keep going on my own personal marathon here. So I really mean it. Thank you. And I think that you are the best people in the world. And Aurelius, it's so fun to be with you. So thank you. It's good spending time with you. And Pedro says, Merkaba to all light. And I love that you've got that going on and that you're protecting all light everywhere. And Allison says, thank you, Aurora, for all you do. Very welcome. Very, very pleased to do it. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to go hug Cheeky, and then we're going to go for a fun walk to the park. Sorry. No barkies. All right, enough. Enough. All right, you're getting too saucy. No, stop. Enough. Stop. Sorry.